This leaves the monthly total at 0. The yearly total since January 1st is 0. Sunset tonight is at 5:54 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow is at 7:41 a.m. This is NOAA Weather Radio Station, KEC 80. This broadcast originates from the National Weather Service office in Peachtree City and is transmitted from the top of Stone Mountain on a frequency of 162.55 megahertz. The KEC 80 listening area includes the following counties: Cherokee, Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Douglas, Fayette, Forsyth, Fulton, Gwinnett, Henry, Newton, Rockdale, and Walton. Visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta for the latest weather information, including watches and warnings. You can also like your Peachtree City National Weather Service on Facebook or follow NWS Atlanta on Twitter. Here is the official forecast from your National Weather Service for the Atlanta listening area. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the lower 20s. Light northwest winds, becoming southeast after midnight. Thursday, sunny in the morning, then showers likely in the afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. South winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Thursday night, not as cool. Showers likely, mainly in the evening. Near steady temperature in the upper 30s. Southwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Friday, windy. Mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Temperature falling in the lower 30s in the afternoon. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles an hour.
Hey, welcome back here on Fox Weather Now. We're tracking another snowmaker for the Northeast later this week. Not necessarily a blockbuster, but it does bring a fresh coating of snow to places that just got their first shovelable snow in almost 2 years. So relatively speaking, this is a crazy winter pattern for the Northeast as compared to what we've seen over the last 2 years, at least with this snow drought finally over. New York, it was 701 straight days without an inch in a calendar day. Maybe this next streak is only something like 3. Here's how it plays out with our exclusive Fox model heading into the latter portion of this week. It's that same disturbance that just brought ice to the northwest, moving across the country. Out ahead of it, there is this kind of diffuse front, some snow showers possible into tomorrow afternoon. Some of those find their way all the way to the coastline. This, though, is that event taking shape into the day on Friday. Look at that along the I-95 corridor. A path far enough to the south with this storm, with a new area of low pressure developing offshore. That looks to be an all-snow event, perhaps 1 to 3 inches or so of some snow. There's Washington, D.C. Here comes the cooler air. They, farther down south, do get a little bit of mixing that takes place. With coast-to-coast storms, we've seen plenty of wild winter moments just over the past week. Let's take a look back at some of those moments. This was something new and different. Imagine racing down the slopes. That was skiers out in Breck. Adam's doing some skiing next week, and I'm jealous. These folks witnessed a snow-nado over the weekend with gusty winds kicked up the snow and folks on the lift got quite a surprise.
Yeah, how many people were around when that happened? That's incredible.
No one's running for it, though. You know, it's just like, oh, this is cool.
They're quite literally frozen watching it.
It's like the Dust Devil out at Central Park during the baseball game. Everybody was like, okay.
Yeah,
Let's see how this goes.
Neat, let's go ski.
Yeah, so we've seen fire nados this year, and now we've got the snow nado. Everything in balance, all things.
Wow,
And
and
Things
that
in
thing
balance.
holds
It's the
together,
middle
too.
path.
Up
Look at
next,
that.
we've got a magic trick. This is from Fox Weather's winter storm specialist, Tom Nizzle. He captured this bubble freezing from Tennessee. This is Rowan Mountain, where temperatures today hit a grand total of 0 degrees.
Oh, this is so pretty. I love to see stuff like this. You can really pick out the way in which ice crystals form, too.
Wow, yeah.
You know, the octagon, the shape, and all of that. Just awesome science.
So this is a time lapse here from the great Tom Nizzle.
That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
Master winter storm
Yeah, that is-
tracker and also
Yeah.
master photographer.
That's
That-
unbelievable.
That's a fun experiment if you bundle up the kids. You could do that yourselves.
Yeah,
You know,
and
watch
even-
that
he-
happen.
He even got the bubble to rotate.
You think you could do that?
Absolutely not.
There's no way I could pull that off. You can do that with your kids. No one can do that.
One, I
Tom
don't
Nizzle
live
can
on-
do
Yeah,
that.
it was wishful
One person can do that.
You have to
And he
live on
did
the
it.
top of a mountain in Tennessee, I
That's
suppose.
true.
I mean, that's amazing.
That was pretty cool. Let's go farther south. One kid in Alabama, he's got the need for speed. A few daredevils took to the roads for this ultimate sledding experience.
Oh, come on.
Sledder. Yeah, he's being towed. Yes, you can see that by a pickup truck before the wipeout.
I've done this. Have you guys done this?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is like a rite of passage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot more snow on the ground when I did that up in Jersey, but I
Yeah.
imagine, you know, just the whisper of snow and ice down south, and you're going to get this.
I think we're. I didn't see the trash can.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Yeah, neither did he. Shout out. I'd have to. I think we're like obligated to say, don't try this at home.
This was a collegiate pastime of mine.
If you live
guys
in the
don't try this at
Northeast,
home, yeah.
You've done. You don't always get the opportunity to do this though in
No.
Alabama.
No,
Absolutely
you don't,
not.
which is why he's out there on what looks like a quarter inch of snow at most.
The ice burn at the end. Oh, man.
All right, we got one more for you. Finally, to bring out the snow pants. Usually they don't look like this. These Chicagoans posted a TikTok to show just how wicked cold came into their city. That's a pair of jeans in 11 degrees below 0.
Oh, my gosh. Stick the landing. There it goes.
That's like horseshoes right there.
Yeah.
Or
I think
bocce.
I think I saw. Don't you put your jeans in the freezer? You're not actually supposed to wash them. That's good. That's like laundering.
What?
Really?
Maybe I just made that up.
What
No,
is
that's
that-
real.
that like,
You're not supposed to wash denim. You just put it in the freezer and it's clean.
L-
No one's talking. I think that's the end of the show.
Hashtag life
I'm
hacks.
just-
Someone Google that.
I need
run
to see
through
it.
that.
Someone Google that.
We're gonna need more literature on that. I believe you.
Yeah, I think that's real.
Kills the bugs
We're
in the
gonna look
freezer?
it up
Why
and I'll
not?
confirm it.
So be it. And then I guess, do you have to iron it at that point? No, it's just
No, look at it.
clearly yeah,
It's nice and straight.
starched. All right. If the Arctic cold air that's taken over the middle of the country has sapped your energy a little bit, then you've got something in common with electric vehicles. EV owners are now learning that such cold air can have a big impact on battery performance. Extremely cold temperatures slow the chemical process that occurs when batteries are charging and when they're powering a vehicle, meaning that it can take longer to charge your batteries and means you can get lower mileage than you would on normal days. Experts say that electric vehicle owners should run their cars with the heat on about 20 to 30 minutes to ensure better performance when you're out driving. You can plan on charging more frequently. Once the car is warm, consider running only the seat heaters, which can keep passengers warm more efficiently than blasting the air vent. So now you know. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with Arctic air like this very often, but it can have an impact on those EVs when it makes an appearance. Thankfully, that bitter cold air will soon give way to quite a warm-up for much of the country. You can forget all those tips when we move into next week. In between now and then, though, we gotta make
I'll
it
tell you
there.
that seat heater trick, I believe that. That
Yeah.
definitely works. It warms
And
you up
seat
fast.
heaters are just awesome.
They are.
Just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But we are going to have our own natural heater
Yes.
come next week, thankfully, because look at this. Across the country, the entire lower 48 expected to be above average, and spots that were well below, we're talking 40, 50 degrees.
Yes.
0 in some spots, going to get a nice big rebound.
What's wild about this, Adam, is how quickly you go from temperatures that are 30, 40 degrees below average all of a sudden to 15, 20 plus.
It's true. It really hasn't been that long that it's been frigid, and yet it's been so frigid that we're like so happy
It's
to see
almost
a
like
little bit of
time
rain.
stood still and we've been locked in
Yeah,
this,
Yeah.
It's
this
just run on
freezer.
forever. It hasn't been that long, but grateful to see it change.
But with that warm up, we do see a pattern with a much more wet set system that's
Yes.
potentially going to bring rain instead of snow to the south this go around.
Yeah, so you do have to deal with some sogginess. We get back to that more El Nino look.
What we
which
would expect, right?
cooler down south, but wetter. This is the lookout in California. It gets active again.
It does. So we're going to watch that storm door, which has yet to close, continue on. Just going to see the temperature pattern flop, but we will see the potential for flooding. I have to watch Northern California, but even down into, LA County, Ventura. These are areas that have already seen really devastating flooding. And it is going to be one thing that we'll have to watch for closely.
That's the current snow cover, Adam, 58.9% of the country.
Oh.
Yeah. And as you can tell, rain's about to replace all that. You know what? I think there's probably some folks who are ready to see rain just because it has been so cold so long. But yeah, that could be a cause for flooding, right? There's snow on the ground. We're talking about rain washing over that.
And this is hefty rain, too. Let's not lose sight of the fact drought is still a big thing across the Louisiana coastline, the Texas coastline, the state here, where we could squeeze out 5 to 8 inches of rain next week.
So that's what happens next week, which is an indicator that we've made it to the middle of this week. That means we can see the weekend from here. We should talk about it. It's a big weekend. We've got the divisional playoffs for the NFL. We'll get to that in just a moment. That's the look across the country, though.
Yeah, here we go come Saturday. This little dusting of snow that we're going to get from the Great Lakes to the Northeast, that's up and out of here by Saturday, but this is when the coldest air of that second shot is going to come through and settle in for all of us.
So it makes a big difference, right? You see by Sunday and really early into next week, we start to see a breakdown, but some of that colder air is moving out a little bit by the time you get into Sunday, and then you start to think light at the end of the tunnel.
Let's get to the important stuff.
Here we
Sunday.
are.
We got to talk about
Enough of that.
football as the sun gets a little low on the NFL season. This is a big game. The Packers, which we saw what they did.
It was a great game. I was rooting for the Packers.
Yeah, you and
America?
maybe America,
Most-
even
a
though
lot
it
of
was
those
against
people.
America's team.
I know.
But I mean, what can we say? Patriots, Colts, Eagles.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
all just
Packers.
haters, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
This was another interesting result. The Bucks, we saw what they did, sadly,
Yeah.
to Jane's Eagles. This
Yeah.
should be a good game. Of course, Ford Field is a dome.
23
Is a
degrees.
dome. Is a dome. So
Oh, all right. So
folks
then-
will be drinking outside in the cold.
Yeah,
and indoors.
doing their best to stay warm because it's cold. Not as cold as this is going to be, though,
But
Jane.
listen, the Chiefs, they just played in like negative 20, 30
Yeah.
degree
Right,
wind
this is gonna
chills.
feel warm.
So this is nothing for them. I would say weather's not
balmy
even a factor.
21.
Right?
Yes, it is balmy, I suppose, but there's still the lake effect snow in between now and then.
I know. This is an interesting one. I'm excited for that. And then Baltimore, Houston Texans.
Our Super Bowl champs take on the Texans.
You think so?
I don't
You're
know,
calling it?
maybe.
We'll
Yeah.
see. They have to win this game.
They
27 degrees.
They
and
do have to
partly
do that.
Before we go, we talked about the 5-day snow totals when we were talking about the lake effect snow. Parts of New York, immediately downrange of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, could see up to 70 inches total of lake effect snow. We wanted to visualize
What 70 inches looks like?
So we have giant rulers on our giant screen to show you that, up to 6 feet. So what, 70 inches, that is,
Let's get in there.
it's 5'10". Dana, you 5'10"?
I'm 5'2".
Get up here right with you.
So, and
This-
don't forget, I'm skewed. I have heels on, so I'm like closer to 5'5" right now. I'd be buried.
So you're buried in the snow. I'm like right head tie at the snow.
You can stick a hand out.
To my knowledge, we're not under arrest in this
And-
lineup, but if we keep doing this much
And Ian,
longer,
you're telling
we
us where
may
to
be.
go, like peeking out of the top.
It's a lot of
Get out this
snow,
way.
about
Get
an
out this
us
way.
worth of snow. That does it for this hour of Fox Weather Now. Don't forget to download the Fox Weather app. We'll be right back.
A new dawn is coming to the U.S. stock market, and it's time to throw out the investment blueprint of the last decade and prepare for a massive shift. If you've lost money over the past 2 years, this changes everything. Hi, my name is Mark Chaikin, and I was hired to create 3 new indices for the NASDAQ based on what I've learned in 50 years on Wall Street. So believe me when I tell you this shift could send dozens of stocks soaring sky high in just the next 90 days. But this is an extreme setup I haven't seen in years, since before the 2020 crash. The last time this happened, you could have more than tripled your money by just owning one stock. And I'm revealing this #1 stock to buy today, 100% free of charge at the website shown below. The question is why? Because everyday Americans will be impacted mostly by what's coming. And I want you to be on the right side of the table when this shift happens. Don't delay. Visit the website below before it's too late.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. If you're new to Medicare, recently moved, or losing coverage, you may qualify for enrollment in a Medicare Advantage plan, so make sure you know your Medicare ABCs. You may be familiar with Medicare Parts A and B, but if you are thinking about Part C, also called a Medicare Advantage plan, speak with a licensed insurance agent to see what plans and benefits are available in your area. Our partners offer plans from Humana, Aetna, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Kaiser Permanente, Cigna Healthcare, WellCare, so you can compare your options, coverage, and pricing across multiple carriers. If you're new to Medicare, recently moved, or losing coverage, make the free call to the number on your screen, give them your zip code, and a licensed insurance agent will walk you through the entire process. It's that easy.
I just became eligible for Medicare, so I called to find a plan that fits my budget.
For a free, no-obligation consultation,
call 800-370-2972.
Right now on Fox Weather Live, lake effect snow burying parts of upstate New York. These are the same, or some of the same spots that we should say that got slammed over the weekend. 5+ feet of snow has been reported in the past 4 days.
And out west, we are talking about back-to-back ice storms in Oregon, and that's led to dangerous driving conditions as well as power outages across the state. Fox Weather is your Winter Storm HQ, and we've got you covered from coast to coast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on Fox Weather Live. I'm Steve Bender.
And I'm Kendall Smith, and we appreciate you being with us. It is Wednesday, Steve. We have made it to that halfway point in the week.
Yeah.
Ooh, but we still have quite a bit of weather to get through until we get to the weekend.
Yeah, and the spot we'll talk about first, if you were walking outside, Kendall, you would disappear. That's how high
Good point.
the snowpack is right there.
Yes, so for those of you at home who aren't aware, I am a rather petite woman. So yes, the snow, especially for the Great Lakes Snowbelt region, they have just gotten slammed this past weekend. They were blasted with heavy snow, and now they are getting it yet again. And so let's show you some of the scenes. This is West Seneca, New York, so the suburb.
doctor about it imposes a huge burden.
For years, Channel 2 Action News has reported on wait time concerns at the Atlanta VA. In 2021, we told you how a cancer patient died after waiting more than 6 months for a colonoscopy after an initial screening showed signs of colon cancer. In 2022, we uncovered how for many key specialties, wait times in Atlanta were significantly longer than the national average. Atlanta VA tells us in a statement, quote, "We are constantly working to improve, and that means taking steps to provide veterans with high-quality care as quickly as possible, whether that's at the VA or in the community. We appreciate the oversight of our congressional partners like Senator Ossoff." Now, if this bill becomes law, it would also require VA to make public what facilities are meeting and not meeting those targets, and it would rank VA facilities. This is bipartisan legislation introduced along with Florida Republican Rick Scott. Reporting live at the Atlanta VA Medical Center, Justin Gray, Channel 2 Action News.
Channel 2 Investigates has kept you updated on major problems involving the VA throughout the past year. In January, nurses lined Claremont Road outside the Atlanta VA Medical Center, warning of manpower problems they say impact patient care. In February, we told you about a watchdog report raising concerns about the quality of medical staff working at VA healthcare facilities. The report found pandemic hiring changes may have led to some workers not being fully vetted. And in August, local veterans told consumer investigator Justin Gray they often call Atlanta's VA Medical Center for care, but their calls go unanswered. We spoke to families who'd been trying to reach someone on the phone for weeks. A whistleblower told us the issue is not with the VA's phone system, but with staffing shortages.
Severe Weather Team 2 is tracking more cold air headed our way. Here's a live look now at I-75 and I-285. This is Cobb County. Those temperatures are going to be dropping not just there, but all across the metro.
Keep that coat close. Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz live in Severe Weather Center 2. You're timing it all out for us,
Yeah,
Brad.
you're going to need it tonight, tomorrow, and I'm tracking a second Arctic blast in a few days. First, I want to start with this live look at Centennial Olympic Park. Not so much to show you the clear sky, but there it is. But I want you to look at the flags here. Just barely blowing, but a big improvement from those 15 to 25 mile an hour winds this morning. So the wind is very light, which makes it much easier to dress for. Just a few high clouds out here. I want to show you these pink clouds as the sun is now setting. So temperatures back to the mid-30s in Atlanta, 36. The air is very dry, but just a 7 mile an hour north wind. And that wind is going to be very light to calm overnight and into the morning hours. So as temperatures fall to freezing at 7, upper 20s at 9, mid 20s at 11, clouds increase just a little bit, and we're going to see these winds die down. So by 11, not expecting really any wind at all. And that is good news because it makes it much easier to dress for the very cold conditions. The weather on the way for us includes another cold night again tonight, teens and 20s tomorrow morning. A brief warm-up. It's not going to be warm, but certainly less cold as we head into Thursday. But more bitter cold this weekend. Arctic air moves back in, another Arctic air mass. And I'm tracking temperatures into the teens, wind chills back near zero. Updating that 5-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Brad, we'll see you then. So there are warming centers open if you do need to escape the cold. In North Fulton County, you can go to Fire Station number 2 in Sandy Springs. Clayton County has 9 warming centers open. Gwinnett counties will be open until 7 tomorrow morning. You can find more information about exact locations on our website. It's WSBTV.com. And remember, as we track the falling temperatures, you can always get the latest forecast at your fingertips from Severe Weather Team 2. Just download the Severe Weather Team 2 app for alerts whenever a winter storm is coming our way.
Now to a developing story. A mother and teenage son both in front of a judge today accused of murdering a guest in their home. Police later found the woman's body in the trunk of a car in a Gwinnett County parking lot. And this involves torture and religion. Channel 2's Courtney Francisco has the latest.
The Lee family is accused of convincing people to join their religion. Soldiers of Christ move into their home, give them money. The mother and youngest son were both in court today. Here's what that was like.
You could hear Mai-Hee Lee's shackles before you saw her walk into the courtroom slowly to listen to a list of the charges she faces.
Count 3, false imprisonment.
Her youngest son went through the same arraignment process Wednesday, but we're not showing his face because of his age, 15 years old.
For concealing death of another.
The Gwinnett County mother, 3 of her sons, a daughter-in-law, a cousin, and a friend are accused of luring a woman named Si-hee Cho here from South Korea to join their group called Soldiers of Christ. Police say the defendants locked Cho in the basement where they tortured and starved her until she died. In an October hearing, prosecutors gave examples of evidence investigators found.
On Eric's phone, 3 videos of the victim going through her, putting herself into a cooler filled with ice water or being whipped by a belt during this admission process were discovered by the police.
Eric Hune was a college student, and his attorney says the Lee brothers recruited and tortured and brainwashed him as well.
He could not walk. He could not get out of bed.
He said Hyun managed to escape with Cho's body in the trunk of a car, parked it at Jeju Spa, and called his father for help. He's out on bond. The brothers, woman, and mom are back in jail, although she and her youngest told the judge Wednesday they're innocent.
On behalf of my client, Peter, and I guilty plea, we waive formal arraignment.
I spoke to Hyun's attorney tonight, and he says Hyun and Cho were convinced they had to undergo these torturous initiation rituals to gain entry into the church. Now, the next court date has not been set yet because attorneys say the volume of evidence they have to go through is so large, and a lot of it's in Korean, and it needs translated. Reporting in Gwinnett, Courtney Francisco, Channel 2 Action News.
Now to a developing story. Atlanta police say they are investigating another arson related to the controversial Public Safety Training Center, and now they're offering $200,000 to catch the arsonists. In this latest case, someone set fire to construction equipment last night, and police believe it is connected to vandals in South Carolina.
Anarchists start work. They struck again this week.
These individuals are trafficking in fear, and that is what they're trying to do.
So with this happening in other states, APD is putting up billboards across the country offering that $200,000 reward for an arrest.
New at 6 tonight, the Secretary of State is defending his decision not to do away with those QR codes on the state's voting machines, even as lawmakers urged him to do that. He's only talking with Channel 2 Action News, and Channel 2's Richard Elliott is live at the state capitol tonight. Richard, Secretary Brad Raffensperger says there just isn't enough time to do it.
And Brad Raffensperger made his budget presentation right over there in the appropriations room across the way. And as expected, some Republican lawmakers grilled him over they want to get rid of those QR codes on the paper ballots. He told them that he agrees it should be done, but he says there just isn't enough time to do it this year because there are so many elections.
It's great to see you both in such great moods this afternoon.
I hope you don't change that. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's budget presentation got off to a frosty start as Georgia lawmakers will decide how much money his office will get. But it didn't take long for some Republicans to grill him over his decision not to get rid of the QR codes on the ballots this year.
Why can't we just go ahead and do it? We don't need legislation. Just do it.
But afterwards, in an exclusive interview, Raffensperger told me the same thing he told the lawmakers. There just isn't enough time to do it this year since the 2024 election cycle is already well underway with a primary in March and June and the presidential election in November.
It takes a lot of time to get it all done. People forget that we have 2,500 different precincts and we have over 30,000 pieces of equipment. So everything's got to be updated and adjusted.
We also talked to Raffensperger about the 17 cases of double voting he says his investigators uncovered. He says 17 people in counties across Georgia voted here, but he says also intentionally voted in other states. Georgia shares that kind of data with the other states to stop that very thing.
We do a thorough investigation. They double voted, and that's why we're sending it to the local DAs, and we hope that they support us and believe that elections are really important, and any law that people violate, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
Identities of the 17 people not released yet, but if convicted, they could face a $100,000 fine and 10 years in prison. We're live at the state capitol. Richard Elliott, Channel 2 Action News.
We've been dealing with frigid air. I'll show you when that moves out to be quickly replaced by round 2. Your updated 5-day forecast when we fall into the teens and near zero wind chills return.
Channel 2 Action News is looking into mail thefts at a local post office. Checks stolen and washed.
They were signed over to people's names. One said deposit only, but it totals about $30,000.
We're speaking with the victims about their losses and the push to hold the thieves accountable.
Plus, a family is demanding answers about a deadly shooting. What we've learned about the murder investigation as police search for the suspect. That's live next.
Closed captioning sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
This is where it all happens. Every day on 2, Channel 2 Action News.
We are live breaking the big stories and connecting you to issues close to home. From College Park to Decatur, up in Lawrenceville, and out in Marietta.
We bring it every single. Stories change fast, and our team does more to cover every moment, every breaking detail.
It's your news, your neighborhoods.
Join us every day on Channel 2 Action News, live at 4, 5, and 6.
I'm John Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call Pound Law from your cell phone. Morgan & Morgan. Pound Law, that's all.
Can you imagine doing all of this without a twin brother? No way. We're better together. What if we could be even better? That's why we've partnered with America's #1 independent furniture retailer, Rooms To Go, where you'll find our all-new furniture collection. Introducing Drew and Johnson for Rooms To Go. Come in and check it out because we're designing something great together. Together. Yeah, you mean you and me together with Rooms To Go. Together. That's what it said.
There's the guy who said his trade-in was in perfect condition.
Well, what do you think?
Well, let's see here. It looks pretty nice on the outside. Got a teeny tiny scratch right there, and whoa, game changer. You didn't tell me that you had WeatherTech floor liners?
Of course. I also have the cargo liner and seat protector.
I mean, the carpet looks brand new.
So what do you think of my trade-in now?
It just went up, way up.
Thought so.
Protect your investment. Order your American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Just announced New Year's savings. Premier Nissan Mall of Georgia. Road models starting at $299 per month. Premier Nissan Mall of Georgia. $299 per month gets you driving. Come in today. Drive today. Premier Nissan Mall of Georgia or NissanMall.com. We stack up deep and sell them cheap.
People ask us, what is the Trust Dale 7-point process for recommending companies? It's a very specific list of standards Dale built from 30 years of investigative reporting. He protects you by making sure every company he certifies continually meets those 7 standards. Never risk your spend with Trust Dale.
Severe Weather Team 2 is making sure you are prepared as we deal with this cold weather. This is a live look now from our Midtown Atlanta camera. The cold weather is expected to continue into tomorrow and then some. Your full forecast is just 15 minutes away.
We are staying on top of this developing story. Someone shot this man in the head, and now his family wants answers. Investigators say 62-year-old Michael Lee was less than a mile from his home. Channel 2's Michael Seiden is live in East Point tonight. And Michael, police do not believe this was a targeted attack.
Yeah, Lyndon, we actually moved over here to the police department. We got a copy of the incident report, and in it, they do not mention that this was a targeted attack. It appears to be random. Meantime, though, this family is pleading for answers. Investigators say this man, Michael Lee, had just finished up his shopping at this Family Dollar near Headland Drive on Friday night when someone fired a random shot, striking the 62-year-old in the head. When police arrived, they found him dead in the street.
Oh, that's crazy, man. Make no sense. My son go to school right down here, man.
Right now, no one is under arrest, but police do not believe this was a targeted attack.
I don't know, man. I gotta be careful, man. You know, watch your surroundings, man. Stay out these streets.
We stopped by Lee's home, which is less than a mile from the Family Dollar. We were hoping to speak with his widow so we could learn more about who he was as a person. But an unidentified family member answered the door and told us that she was at the funeral home finalizing his service. Back at the scene, pieces of crime tape marked the spot where this tragedy took place. This man says he didn't know the victim, but he had this to say about the person who shot him.
Coward.
Yeah, again, he's called him a coward. He didn't hesitate when he said that. A lot of people in this area, though, they want answers in this tragedy. If you have any information, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers. We're live in East Point. Michael Seiden, Channel 2 Action News.
New developments now. Nearly 24 books will stay out of Marietta City schools after the board voted to keep its book ban in place. We first told you about that decision yesterday on Channel 2 Action News at 6. Tuesday's decision came after a group of parents said they spent the holiday reading the banned books and filed appeals with the school board.
Animal Control seized 12 dogs and 2 bearded dragons at a house and then made arrests. Investigators say they charged a man and 5 women for ignoring an order not to adopt any more animals. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Department told Channel 2 there was an outbreak of parvo at the house. The house is on Archer Avenue. Deputies made the arrest after they say they found a dog dead in the front yard. A Fulton County Sheriff's Department canine had to have emergency surgery. The dog named Ian is now recovering. There he is. The sheriff's office said it's sending thoughts and support to the dog's handler. They're asking people to post comments for Canine Ian on the Fulton County Sheriff's Office Facebook page.
Now to the war in Israel. The Palestinian Health Ministry estimates more than 24,000 people have been killed in Gaza in the 102 days since the Israel-Hamas war began. As their calls for a ceasefire continue, the U.S. government is backing Israel and its military approach. Channel 2's Kirsten Garris is in Washington, D.C., speaking with 2 families whose worlds have been turned upside down.
How many more of my family and friends in Gaza has to die?
It's the lack of food, the lack of water, the lack of medicine.
Adam Abu Sharia and Mazen Bedr are Palestinian Americans. They both tell me they have lost dozens of family members in Gaza since the Israel-Hamas war started back in October. And the family members who are still alive are living in tents where it's not clear if they have food and water.
This is a catastrophe. We are not living. We just barely surviving here.
Over the weekend, both men joined thousands of demonstrators in D.C. calling for an end to Israeli military action in Gaza. Bedr tells me he wants a peaceful resolution.
Peaceful one that is good for America, good for Israel, and good, obviously, for the Palestinian people.
For many Palestinian Americans, that solution is a ceasefire. But on Capitol Hill,
I believe we have a duty to stand with our ally, Israel.
There isn't much support for one.
There's no guarantee Hamas won't continue to kill innocent men, women, and children. So it's just not feasible.
But Abu Sharia believes a ceasefire is the only way he can go back to Gaza and honor his loved ones.
Some of them are my family, are still buried under the rubble. Is this inhumane to at least give us time to go bury our dead?
There are still more than 130 Israeli hostages being held by Hamas. Today on Capitol Hill, a bipartisan group of senators stood with American and Israeli families as they called for their release. In Washington, Kirsten Garris, Channel 2 Action News.
Tonight, some state lawmakers want pre-K teachers in Georgia to get more money. They're looking at an overhaul for pre-K to take care of our littlest students, including opening more classrooms, reducing class sizes. They also want pre-K teachers to be paid the same as kindergarten teachers. Lawmakers say all these things could make a big difference.
It's my belief one of the best predictors of educational success is having a strong foundation at the pre-K level. To me, that just makes a lot of common sense.
Lawmakers say the cost could be covered from the Georgia Lottery reserves.
Thieves targeted nearly a dozen metro area businesses with smash and grab break-ins. We spoke with police about the tools they're using to help catch the criminals.
Plus, there's a new push to stop banks from charging expensive overdraft fees. The affordable new cap the Biden administration is pushing for.
A fire caused by a heater left 8 families without a home.
After 25 minutes, it was the explosion.
What victims say happened to that faulty heater just before it caught fire.
Tonight, the GOP race heads to New Hampshire as the frontrunner juggles court and his campaign. Voters get set to make their voices heard. More Americans turn to the most watched newscast on television. World News Tonight with David Muir.
This is how we make Saturday special. And this is how we go all
SEC on ESPN and ABC. This is how it's done.
Next ET, we're with Allison Holker, 1 year after Twitch's passing, inside her new normal.
That was a big thing for our family.
Plus, our Gayle King and Charles Barkley exclusive next.
Tonight at 7:30, sponsored by Pinnacle Home Improvements.
Ashley's New Year's sale is extended. It's your last chance to shop Hot Buys for every room of your home. And right now you can shop new collections with 0% interest through January 2029 in-store only. Celebrate and save today. Only at Ashley.
You know, you've got it pretty good. Streaming this much stuff was never this easy. Nice eye thingies.
They're collagen boosters.
Get internet on the Xfinity 10G network made for streaming for $20 a month for 12 months. And Add Now TV for $20. It's the best value in live TV and streaming.
You guys like this show too? Yes, chef!
Get way more into what you're into when you stream on the Xfinity 10G network.
Home is time spent with the ones we love, celebrating moments together. It's moving forward with a fresh start and making each year count. The meaning of home is always changing, but one thing will stay the same. Stanley Steamer is here to make your home a cleaner, healthier, and more enjoyable place to live. A new year, a clean slate. Schedule a cleaning today.
Ride shares are incredibly convenient, but you never know who you're riding with or their driving history. If you get hurt using one of those services, call us here at the Dozier Law Firm. We're here to help.
Ashley's New Year's mattress sale is extended with 0% interest through January 2029 on in-store mattress purchases. Get 50% off select Sealy mattresses or 25% off select Ashley Sleep mattresses. Only at Ashley.
Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater returns to Atlanta's Fox Theater January 25th through the 27th for 4 shows only. Use promo code FAM2FAM and save $10 off select seats Thursday, Family to Family Night. Family to Family and Wellstar Health System. Community coverage you can count on.
Sports on Channel 2 is presented by Estes Heat, Air, Plumbing, and Electrical. For a limited time, Estes Services offers free second opinions. Visit estesair.com to book your appointment.
Hey, welcome to sports. Last week, the Falcons were reportedly blocking teams from interviewing their coordinators, but now the Falcons are letting some of them interview with other teams. Now, I've learned it's a case-by-case situation. Defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is now allowed to interview with Jacksonville after being prevented to interview last week. Nielsen just finished his first season with the Falcons, where he helped improve Atlanta's defense in his first year, nearly doubling their sack total from 21 last year to 42 this year. The Jaguars are just one of several other teams that would like to chat with them about an opening. Now the Falcons' ongoing coaching search. The Falcons have interviewed 7 candidates so far, the most recent including Michigan's head coach Jim Harbaugh, who's fresh off a national championship win last week. He's a former NFL quarterback that has coached at all levels and won. Before his time at Michigan, he coached the San Francisco 49ers from 2011 to 2014, winning 2 NFC West titles and a Super Bowl berth. He's never finished a season under 500 in the NFL. That's something the Falcons haven't been able to achieve since 2017. Now the Hawks are wrapping up a 5-game homestand with a game against the Orlando Magic tonight. During this stretch, they've won 2 games and they've lost 2. Right now, the Hawks' home record is 7-11, and they sit in 11th in the standings. In order for them to climb back into at least the play-in tournament, they know they need to protect home court tonight.
Oh, each win is important, especially this time of the year, leading to All-Star break and beyond. You know, we still have aspirations, you know, just to be the best team we could be by the end of the season. So each game matters, is very important for us right now.
And Atlanta United continues their preseason. They will play 5 preseason matches this season, with the first one next Saturday in Alabama against Birmingham Legion FC.
Victims say that mail thefts are happening here at this post office in Marietta. One victim says checks were stolen and washed. We're getting answers.
For the first time ever, a woman faced the man accused of killing her mother and 2 children in a crash.
So once I convinced them that it was another person in the car, they all rushed out, went back to the scene. And then they came back and they told me they found Layla.
We are hearing the emotional testimony about the moment she first learned she lost her family.
Very cold again tonight. I'll show you the areas headed down into the teens. And then our next chance of a few isolated showers, potentially a little wintry mix in the mountains. That's coming up next.
It's the La-Z-Boy Inventory Overstock Sell-Off event. We're clearing everything out store-wide. Save up to 50% on closeouts, overstocks, and floor samples. Get our best offers on your favorite La-Z-Boy furniture. La-Z-Boy. Long live the lazy.
Relapsing MS won't tell me who to be. Vumerity, diroximel fumarate, is a pill for adults with relapsing multiple sclerosis, including clinically isolated syndrome, relapsing remitting disease, and active secondary progressive disease. Vumerity reduces relapses and slows the development of brain lesions. Don't take Vumerity if you are allergic to diroximel fumarate, dimethyl fumarate, or any of the ingredients in Vumerity, or are taking dimethyl fumarate. Vumerity may cause serious side effects, including allergic reactions, PML, a rare potentially fatal brain infection, herpes zoster infections or shingles, including central nervous system infections, other serious infections, decreases in your white blood cell count, and liver problems. Your doctor should check your white blood cell count and liver function before and during treatment. Tell your doctor about any infections or other medical conditions. The most common side effects are flushing and stomach problems. Ask your healthcare provider.
The success of my business has taken some surprising twists and turns. But Xero accounting software helped put me on the right path. It's easy to find your numbers all in one place and get a clearer financial picture. So find the power in your numbers and open the right doors with Xero. Accounting software for better business.
Let's go!
It's your journey. Own every mile in an available H-Track all-wheel drive Hyundai SUV. Lease a 2024 Tucson for $259 a month or get 0% APR or $1,500 bonus cash. Visit your local Hyundai dealer.
Do you need an attorney to represent you after an accident? Then you need to know this. It's true to say all law firms are not the same. The insurance companies know which firms will crumble and cave in and accept their lowball offer, and which firms will fight until you get every dollar you deserve. Hiring the right one can make a huge difference in the outcome of your case. Don't lose money by choosing the wrong firm. Call Montlick at Pound Win. That's pound 946. Get more money with Montlick.
Weather presented by Montlick Injury Attorneys. Get more money with Montlick.
Cold one today. We bottomed out at 13 in Atlanta. Highs in the upper 30s across most of the metro area. North Metro, like up towards Canton, never made it above freezing. 29 there, 27 in Blairsville. It is cold. Obviously, you know that. There's some changes, however, and that is first, the skies, well, we've got just a few clouds out there, and the wind really dying down. So out the door tomorrow morning, we're headed to the low 20s in the city. You're going to want your warmest coat, hat, gloves, scarf. You'll want all of that because it will be so cold. But it is going to be much easier to dress for. When you do these things, tomorrow you will be much more comfortable than you were this morning, and because the wind is dying down. Fortunately, we are not going to be dealing with wind chill. We will be dealing with cold temperatures, 19 in Blairsville, 17 Calhoun and Rome. As I mentioned, low 20s in the city, across most of the metro area, parts of the northern western metro, up towards Bartow, down into the upper teens to start the day. Now, we've got some changes coming in the days ahead. High pressure centered right on top of us tonight, slowly sliding to the east, and that's the reason our winds are going to go calm here over the next few hours, and calm to very light, 2-3 miles an hour in the morning, no big deal. So we'll have that break from the wind chill, and then as we head through the day, clouds picking up, increasing a bit, ahead of some isolated light showers coming in tomorrow night. During the daylight hours tomorrow, we'll be dry, but by, say, 9, 10 o'clock, a few spotty showers start to move through. This all comes through as liquid. Will be well above freezing. Highest elevations in the North Georgia mountains, a brief light wintry mix with no impacts. The bulk of that stays to our north. And then by Friday morning, front sweeps through, that comes to an end, and much colder air begins to rush in. So we've been dealing with the frigid air, the Arctic temperatures, and the Arctic air mass. It moves out, but a second one is just about to come on in. So round 2, as we head into the weekend, it's going to be dangerously cold again. Look at this. Friday morning wind chill, not tomorrow. Friday morning as the wind picks up, that front sweeps through in the mid-20s. Then as we head through Friday night, falling into the teens, that's the wind chill. And then by Saturday morning, it will feel like, on exposed skin, the wind chill 0 in Atlanta, 10 below in Blairsville. So like we saw this morning, it will be dangerously cold again Friday night into Saturday morning. Between now and then, it'll be cold tomorrow morning, and then that rain Thursday and Friday comes in the overnight hours, dry during the day. Saturday morning, 16 with that wind chill near 0. 17 Sunday morning, but the wind will be light then, and we'll stay pretty cold into early next week.
Thank you, Brad. Firefighters faced the cold as they fought flames. News Chopper 2 was over this fire that broke out in an abandoned home in northwest Atlanta. This happened around 8 this morning on Jet Street Northwest. Firefighters say when they got there, flames were visible from the street, and they think someone who had nowhere to live may have started that fire.
It just seems that this is going to be a situation where people are just trying to keep warm. It's cold temperatures outside right now. We're at about 14 degrees, so.
It took fire crews less than 1 hour to get that fire under control, and thankfully no one was hurt.
Tonight we're learning about thousands of dollars in checks taken from a post office in Cobb County, and police tell us a postal worker has now been fired. Channel 2 Cobb County Bureau Chief Michelle Newell is live outside the Marietta Post Office on Lawrence Street. And Michelle, the victims knew something was wrong when money started disappearing from their accounts.
And Linda, this is such a nightmare for the victims I spoke with because they run businesses. One of the business owners told me she had to close 3 accounts and change banks. On top of that, she says she's driving to customers to pick up checks until she can fully transition to direct deposit.
I looked at my balance, it was minus $5,000. And I said, that's impossible. And they said, no, you wrote a check for $7,000. I said, no.
Jane Morgan says she noticed fraudulent activity after she wrote a check for $70 and dropped it into the mailbox outside of the Marietta Post Office.
They washed it to say $7,000.
She says someone even tapped into her accounts using personal information from one of the checks she mailed.
And they moved $4,000 from my business account to my personal account.
Don Munns says checks from customers never made it to him.
They were signed over to people's names. One said deposit only, but it totals about $30,000.
The local postal service has identified an employee. They did terminate the employee. I do not believe charges have come forward, and most of those charges would have to come from the postal service itself.
A statement from the Office of Inspector General for the United States Postal Service says in part, this type of alleged behavior within the Postal Service is not tolerated, and the overwhelming majority of Postal Service employees who all serve the public are honest, hardworking, and trustworthy individuals who would never consider engaging in any type of criminal behavior. The Cobb County Sheriff's Office Fraud Division says it's best to avoid mailing checks altogether.
Financial transactions through your phones or computer stuff are a little safer. There's actually ink pens out here that you can use. It's a black gel pen that are harder to wash out.
So Morgan tells me her bank did issue a refund to her. Munns is still waiting for his bank to resolve this. We're live from Cobb County. Michelle Newell, Channel 2 Action News.
The family of a woman killed near a popular downtown entertainment area say they're happy to learn the suspect has been indicted. Atlanta police say 24-year-old Jacavius Arnold kidnapped, robbed, and sexually assaulted and then killed Mitchell Dang in August near the Fulton County Government Center. Family and friends recently held a 1-mile race at Piedmont Park in honor of the 25-year-old victim. And while running, her sister says she felt a rush of emotion.
Because Mitchell and I, we used to run together a lot, and it just felt like she was there with me.
In the next half hour, we're learning what's next for the suspect and how the victim's family is working to get justice for their loved one.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers wants to expand the federal child tax credit. The proposal, they say, could benefit about 16 million children and their families. The credit could be extended for 3 more years. However, it's expected to cost about $35 billion. To become law, the bill would need to pass both the House and the Senate will follow it.
A half dozen Roswell businesses are hit by smash and grab thieves. What they got away with and the surveillance photos cops hope will lead to arrests.
Plus, the area where a heater exploded at an apartment complex is now boarded up. But victims say they noticed just before that heater caught on fire.
And banks would not be able to charge you expensive overdraft fees for much longer. What the Biden administration is doing to try to save you money.
Great rates, reliable service. It's that simple with G&G.
If you or anyone in your family has been injured, call America's largest injury law firm. Call Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.
Tonight, the GOP race heads to New Hampshire as the frontrunner juggles court and his campaign. Voters get set to make their voices heard. More Americans turn to the most watched newscast on television. World News Tonight with David Muir.
Is your furnace giving you the cold shoulder this winter? Bardi is here to warm things up with our sizzling $88 off furnace repair special, saving you from wallet-freezing surprises. Trust Bardi, where warmth meets happy homeowners.
For comfort and care, Bardi is there.
I'm attorney Ken Nugent. If you've been injured, here's what one call, that's all means for you. It means you get the full power of our law firm. We've got over 40 lawyers and 200 support staff to help you. It means we have the resources to put up our own money to fight the insurance company. You don't pay a dime unless we win. And it means that you get the power of hundreds of years of combined legal experience to maximize the value of your case. One call, that's all.
Call 1-800-CALL-KEN.
There are trucks, and then there's the GMC Sierra, available with the connected driving experience and the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Or get $3,500 purchase cash on select 2024 GMC Sierra models. Or get a total of $6,000 purchase allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle. We are professional grade GMC.
With Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo. When Dad brings up the importance of
building credit,
you're ready.
Dad, Fargo? What's my FICO score?
Wow, it's a work of art.
Do you Fargo? You can with Wells Fargo. What else can Fargo do? Instantly tell you what you spend on things like food.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries this month?
Hey, Dad, can the guys take for dinner?
No.
Want faster, easier banking? You can with Wells Fargo. Is your furnace giving you the cold shoulder this winter? Bardi is here to warm things up with our sizzling $88 off furnace repair special, saving you from wallet-freezing surprises. Trust Bardi, where warmth meets happy homeowners.
For comfort and care, Bardi is there.
There is a new effort to prevent banks from charging you those pricey overdraft fees. Those are the fees you're hit with if you spend more on a debit card than you have in your account. Some banks, they charge you up to $35. The Biden administration calls them junk fees and says they cost Americans more than $3 billion every year. And that's why the White House proposed a new rule to cap overdraft fees to as little as $3.
Most overdrafts are triggered by a transaction around $26, and they're paying a fee of $30 or more for that transaction. That translates into an enormous interest rate.
The change could take effect by the end of next year. The Consumer Bankers Association called the proposal misguided and said banks are already taking their own efforts to reduce those overdraft fees.
New developments, a $17 billion plan to expand transit in Gwinnett County is a step closer to being on the ballot this November. Yesterday, the Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners voted to send the expansion plan to the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority. Now, if they approve it, then commissioners can vote to place a penny sales tax on the ballots in November.
Some Metro Atlanta students are getting a real-life lesson on racism and how it's portrayed in a new film shot here in Georgia. WSB gets real with director Ava DuVernay. She made a stop today at the prestigious Ron Clark Academy to talk to the students about her new movie, Origin.
This visit to Ron Clark Academy was so nourishing to me. It was something that I really needed to remind myself of the ways in which we can do things outside of the box.
Origin is a biopic based on the book Cast. The Origins of Our Discontent by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Isabel Wilkerson. The film, written and directed by DuVernay, describes racism in the U.S. as an aspect of the caste system. And just having her there at the school, I'm sure, is so inspiring to those students there at Ron Clark who are doing great things.
And isn't it wonderful to see an artist known worldwide take inspiration from the students, say the students are inspiring her? Incredible. Well, a grand jury has indicted a man accused of kidnapping, robbing, and assaulting a woman. How the victim's family is making sure she gets justice.
Burglars hit a string of businesses in their Roswell neighborhood. The key tool police are using to track them down.
Portions of Channel 2 Action News are brought to you by Atlanta Toyota.
My family and I wanted a fresh start, but we didn't want the hassle of selling our home.
With the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can close in as little as 21 days. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer today.
HCM is a serious heart condition affecting as many as 1 in 200 people. Like me.
And me. It can impact how you feel and what you can do.
I still felt tired on my beta blocker. So I talked to my cardiologist.
About treatment advances in HCM that gave me new options.
It was a breakthrough for me.
That conversation was big for me.
Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com for more information.
The Dave & Buster's method is a 748-step process designed to help you unlearn adulthood and discover the funner you hidden within you. The you that doesn't think about adult things and stuff. Ashley, I don't want to hear anything about your car registration when we're at Dave & Buster's.
Okay.
The you want to be. Let the Dave & Buster's method illuminate you.
Like your Peachtree City National Weather Service on Facebook or follow NWS Atlanta on Twitter. Lingering cold air will bring the threat of frozen pipes again tonight. Low temperatures early Thursday morning are expected to be a bit milder than on Wednesday morning. Nevertheless, there will still be the threat of frozen pipes as low temperatures drop into the teens to lower 20s across much of north and central Georgia. Cover exposed pipes and allow a slow drip from exposed faucets. After a brief warm-up late in the week, more frigid air is forecast for the weekend. Here is the official forecast from your National Weather Service for the Atlanta listening area. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the lower 20s. Light northwest winds, becoming southeast after midnight. Thursday, sunny in the morning, then showers likely in the afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. South winds 5 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Thursday night, not as cool. Showers likely, mainly in the evening. Near steady temperature in the upper 30s. Southwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Friday, windy. Mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Temperature falling in the lower 30s in the afternoon. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles.
285 in North Fulton County, where temperatures are dropping again.
Our chief meteorologist, Brad Nitz, is in Severe Weather Center 2 with what you need to know right now.
Yeah, temperatures now cold, falling through the 30s. Look where we're headed by morning. 22 in Atlanta, mid-teens in parts of North Georgia, 17 degrees from Blairsville to Calhoun and Rome, and across the metro area, very cold, even some teens around Cartersville. The big difference from this morning, however, we are not going to be dealing with a wind chill, so some good news there. Let me show you your 5-day forecast with a weekend always in view. Very cold. Tomorrow we've got a few isolated light showers coming in overnight Thursday night. Pre-dawn hours Friday, and very cold and windy again on Saturday, 16 with a wind chill near 0.
As we deal with this cold, hundreds of donated coats are going to our neighbors who need help staying warm. And Channel 2 Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz launched Brad's Coat Drive last month. Channel 2 working with 4 local nonprofits that can quickly get the coats donated by viewers like you to those who need them. We're collecting coats through the end of February. We need new and gently used coats for both children and adults. You can drop them off at our studios here in Midtown Atlanta. We also have a link to Brad's Coat Drive website, WSBTV.com, where you can learn how to help or donate money.
Some Gwinnett County residents are without heat tonight after they say an HVAC unit exploded and caught fire at their apartment complex. It happened around 5 Tuesday afternoon at the Everett Apartments at Club Place in Duluth. More than a dozen people are displaced now, and they're now getting help, thankfully, from the local Red Cross. Residents say they've had concerns about the heater at the apartment complex there for a while.
We told them a lot of times, like, it's not working, it's not working.
Our reporter took those concerns to the leasing office today, but an employee told him to leave a card instead.
To a developing story now. Tonight, the windows of a half dozen businesses boarded up in Roswell after smash and grab thieves broke in. It happened at 2 retail shopping centers along Holcomb Bridge. Channel 2's Tom Regan is live in Roswell tonight. And Tom, you spoke to some of the businesses hit by the burglars.
Yeah, a lot of the business owners here that were hit by these thieves tell me that they're angry, they're frustrated, they're upset. Take a look behind me. You can see they boarded up the window of this coffee shop that was broken by these burglars. Now, they didn't get anything inside here, but that didn't stop them from breaking into other businesses.
Surveillance cameras captured these images of the masked thieves who broke into a half dozen businesses before dawn on the MLK holiday. The businesses included this jewelry store. An employee told me they made off with merchandise worth $20,000. And the co-owner of this Persian restaurant told me they hit her place as well and grabbed the cash register with cash inside.
But it was like over 500.
Bita Khashoggi says the thieves also took customer credit cards that were in the cash register and business permits that they will now have to replace.
It's not fair, and we are a new business. We opened like a few months ago.
Their time inside of the stores is measured in matters of seconds.
Police say the smash and grab thieves hit a half dozen stores on Holcomb Bridge Road in one night. And they believe those stores aren't the only ones they've broken into.
What we have been able to determine through our follow-up from our detectives and crime scene investigators, along with the resources of our Roswell Crime Center, is that it is the same crew of individuals who have been perpetrating these burglaries, both here and in our surrounding jurisdictions.
I don't like it at all. I mean, I think it's terrible.
Bita, though, is confident the thieves will eventually run out of luck.
I mean, I believe in karma, but...
Hopefully they'll get their karma.
Exactly.
Roswell police have a network of security cameras. They're now going through that footage to see if they can identify these thieves and the vehicle that they are using. Live in North Fulton County, Roswell, Tom Regan, Channel 2 Action News.
8 years after a grandmother and her 2 grandchildren were killed on their way to church, the teen accused of crashing into them is finally in court. Jurors watched body camera video today of what police say was DeAndre Tigner after he stole a limousine and led police on a chase. They say it ended when he crashed into those 3 victims. Joy Partridge lost her mother and her children. She spoke to the jury today about her mom.
Wonderful relationship. She was there for me. Karen Giffen, she was a school teacher for 30-something years in Atlanta public school system.
Tigner is pleading not guilty. The family of a woman killed after she went out for a night of dancing say they don't want anyone to forget what happened to her. Police say Mitchell Dang was murdered and her body left in a parking garage near the Underground Atlanta. Channel 2's Tom Jones is live in downtown Atlanta with what the family is doing to keep her memory alive. Tom?
Yeah, Wendy, the Dang family held a 1-mile race at Piedmont Park in memory of Mitchell Dang. They also said they were relieved a grand jury indicted her accused killer, the man who killed her here.
It was really tough.
Mary Dang says it was really tough going through the holidays without her sister, 25-year-old Mitchell Dang.
Christmas is Mitchell's favorite holiday, so not having her there, it definitely felt rough. The energy was heavy.
It eased the pain just a little when Dang's family found out a Fulton County grand jury indicted the man accused of killing her in August.
And knowing that they indicted him, it feels in a sense of relief.
Atlanta police say 24-year-old Jakevius Arnold kidnapped, robbed, sexually assaulted, and killed Mitchell Dang near the Fulton County Government Center. Officers say this is video of Arnold walking with Mitchell moments before he took her life. Mitchell went to a nightclub at the Underground Atlanta and posted on social media how excited she was about dancing the night away. She never made it home. The Dang family doesn't want what happened to her to happen to anyone else.
We wore shirts in honor of her.
They also are working to keep Mitchell's memory alive.
We did a 1 mile race at Piedmont Park.
Family and friends ran a 1 mile race in Mitchell's honor on the first day of the new year at Piedmont Park. Mary says she felt her sister's spirit the entire time.
Because Mitchell and I, we used to run together a lot, and it just felt like she was there with me.
And Arnold is being held at the Fulton County Jail without bond. He is, of course, innocent until proven guilty. We're live in downtown Atlanta. Tom Jones, Channel 2 Action News.
As we head to break, a quick check of Wall Street. The Dow down today, down 94. The NASDAQ down as well, about 88 points.
The Stock Report on Channel 2 is sponsored by Original Mattress Factory.
This is Storm Tracker 2 HD, and there's nothing like it in Georgia.
With Storm Tracker 2 HD, we bring you a level of accuracy that can't be matched and warn you 5 minutes earlier than anyone else.
Only on Channel 2 Action News.
Lease the new 2024 Forte LXS for $209 a month.
Change is never easy. There will be naysayers, doubters, and critics. You may even give up for a moment, only to start again another day. Because you believe in moving to the beat of your own drum, in passing down lifelong skills, in your ability to lose weight and keep it off. And when you believe you can succeed, you already have.
Wegovy is for adults with obesity and shouldn't be used with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines. Don't take Wegovy if you or your family had medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if allergic to it. Stop Wegovy and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis and gallbladder problems. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat type 2 diabetes. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes, or if you feel your heart racing while at rest. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Call your provider right away if you have any mental changes. Common side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
So keep on believing, because it's not just about the weight you lose. It's about everything you gain. Believe on. Wegovy.
So what do you think about these? We like this one.
Yeah, we love that.
When it's time for an update or complete remodel, Rebath is with you every step of the way.
We're going to take everything down to the
From design and products to removal and installation, we handle the entire process to create a beautiful and functional bathroom for whatever your life needs.
Honey, you were right. Turned out amazing.
Rebath, with you every step of the way. Call us or visit rebath.com to learn more about our winter savings event.
Capability with the right Kia SUV. Get 0.9% APR for up to 48 months on select new 2023 Sorento models.
We are working on several new stories for WSB tonight, including new details on a shocking case of a worker being beaten to death.
A store clerk inside the Chevron beaten and killed by a man with a hammer. He was hit more than a dozen times. His coworkers explain why the suspect is someone they tried to help.
Plus, with more freezing temperatures on the way, we're going along with crews fixing busted pipes across the metro. The family's dealing with major issues because of the freeze and how you can protect yourself. We'll have that plus breaking news and weather, all new at 11 on WSB tonight. Do want to thank you for counting on Channel 2 Action News.
Have a wonderful evening. Stay close for all those weather updates. Remember, you can get updates throughout the evening on the WSB News app. ABC World News Tonight is coming your way next. Good night.
Markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Tonight's primetime lineup is sponsored by Woodstock Furniture and Mattress Outlets.
Tempur-Pedic is America's most highly recommended mattress. And where does North Georgia shop for Tempur-Pedic mattresses? Woodstock Furniture and Mattress Outlet.
My name's Lexi. I'm 30 years old and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
You look great.
I have endometriosis. It will be very tough for me to have children, but I've always wanted to be a mother. to get married, and I want to start building that family.
I don't believe that things happen for a reason.
Did you think I was meant to be here to meet you?
A family room without family is just a room. But when there's space for everyone, it becomes the heart of the home. Nobody knows that better than Rooms to Go. It's why we've teamed up to create living room solutions for everyday life. Whether you need a place to relax, recharge, or watch your favorite show with the whole family, you'll find Our show's on. Come check it all out. It's Drew and Johnson for Rooms to Go.
Your body was not made in Detroit.
That's right, and you can't tell whether someone was hurt by looking at the car.
Don't let the insurance company fool you. Call Dozier Law.
We're here to help.
For new energy-efficient windows that are sure to induce envy, visit SuperiorPro.com for a free quote.
Introducing a symphony of new possibilities at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. With live craps, roulette, and sports betting alongside our classic ensemble of slots, blackjack, and baccarat. Discover a new era. Discover your rhythm.
Right now, there's just so much happening in our world.
And so much happening
Right here in Georgia. Making sense of it all, that's not always so easy.
And that's where we come in.
Channel 2 Action News and Good Morning America.
We're right here, and we got you.
We got you, Georgia.
When your door is always open, so is the fridge. With Kroger, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards, whether you shop in-store, pickup, or delivery. That's a win-win-win. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Neighborhood TV is your source for really local news right from your neighborhood. Our friends here at Jaymore Farms in Hall County, we bring you the information that impacts your daily life. From safety concerns,
Make sure that we're in those school bus zones.
to the latest in local business. That is delicious. Tune in for the best of community events and exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else.
It's the largest planting project of the year.
Neighborhood TV, your neighborhood, your stories. Now streaming on Xumo Play.
When your door is always open, so is the fridge. With Kroger, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards, whether you shop in-store, pickup, or delivery. That's a win-win-win. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Hey there, Georgia. I'm John Crow with your Cash 3, Cash 4, and Georgia 5 evening drawings. Hey, everybody. Play more than 50 fun Digi games online from the Georgia Lottery and win up to $400,000. You can even play some of your other favorite lottery games. Go to playdigi.com and play now. All right, moving on to Cash 3. Your first winning number is 9. That's followed by 8. And your final winning number is 5. Again, if you have the numbers 9, 8, and 5, you just won. Now let's play Cash 4 and see if you can win again. Here we go. First winning number is 7. That's followed by 7. Up next, we have 2. And your final winning number is 2. Again, if you have the numbers 7, 7, 2, and 2 in any winning combination, you did win some more money. On to Georgia 5. Here we go. Your first winning number is 4. That's followed by 6. Up next, we have 8. Your next number is 1, and your final winning number is 5. Again, those numbers are 4, 6, 8, 1, and 5. Good luck and play on, Georgia.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At least 28 dead now in this brutal winter storm and frigid air in the Northeast. Multiple members of the same family killed when they got out of their car. The brutal wind chills and below freezing temperatures from Chicago all the way to New York City. And now the new storm on the move tonight. The Midwest, then the Great Lakes, into the Northeast again. Tonight, the deadly accidents on the highways in Pennsylvania. Several members of that same family killed when they got out of their car after a crash and were then hit by a tractor trailer. Tonight, Buffalo issuing a travel ban, closing schools. Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia to New York, all bracing for the next system coming. Rob Marciano timing it out. In New York City tonight, the manhunt for a possible serial stabbing suspect. Authorities say surveillance images show him armed with a hunting knife. At least 3 victims attacked just today. One victim stumbling into a dry cleaner's for help. Stephanie Ramos with new reporting. Also in New York, an explosive day in court at the civil defamation trial against Donald Trump. A jury already finding Trump liable. With his accuser, E. Jean Carroll, on the stand today, Trump lashing out. The judge threatening to kick him out of court. The disturbing video tonight of a 4-year-old boy with autism tased by police in his own backyard. The boy suffering a broken hip. The family calling it a case of mistaken identity. An officer can be heard questioning if they have the right person. The news from the UK tonight, Princess Catherine in the hospital for weeks after undergoing abdominal surgery. What we've now learned tonight, and King Charles will have surgery next week. Back here in the U.S., the high-stakes meeting at the White House today. Late today, President Biden urging congressional leaders to move forward with aid for Ukraine. Speaker Mike Johnson insisting the border here comes first. Mary Bruce at the White House. There is news tonight about the 10-year-old boy attacked by a shark, what we're now learning about his condition. Tonight, the NBA coach dead. The Golden State Warriors stunned by the death of their assistant coach. Tonight's game called off. And America Strong tonight, the romantic proposal on the beach. And the little girl who had something else in mind. You have to see this.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. We do begin tonight with a new storm coming, with this nation already in the grip of a deadly Arctic blast. At least 28 people have been killed since Sunday across this country. The brutal wind chills from Chicago to New York City and now the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast bracing again. This newest system tonight, starting in the west, moving into the Dakotas and the Midwest tomorrow, then the Great Lakes combining with yet another system in the south, and then barreling right up the East Coast, as you can see again. More snow, frigid temperatures behind it. And the death toll now growing. The tragic story on Interstate 81 near Scranton, Pennsylvania. 5 members of the same family who got out of their cars after an accident were then killed by a tractor trailer. A travel ban remaining in effect for parts of Erie County in western New York tonight amid another round of lake effect snow, several feet in Buffalo, up to 3 additional feet by tomorrow night. Rob Marciano with the forecast tonight, and Trevor Ault at LaGuardia Airport leading us off tonight.
Tonight, that deadly Arctic blast fueling a lake effect snow machine, bringing feet of fresh snow to western New York. A state of emergency in Erie County. An army of plows out in force, front loaders full of snow.
If you don't need to go outside, please don't go outside.
Overnight on Interstate 81 north of Scranton, Pennsylvania, 5 women, all from the same family, struck and killed by a tractor trailer after they got out of their vehicles following a separate crash. In Chicago, they're in the throes of their longest stretch of temperatures below 5 degrees in nearly 30 years.
It's a splintering cold where it feels like almost like you have like pins or needles pricking you.
In the Colorado Rockies, an extreme avalanche danger. Our Rob Marciano in Steamboat Springs.
It is just coming down here at the top of Steamboat. Ski patrollers working overtime this week trying to control all this snow. Avalanche warnings, level 4 of 5. Super dangerous through at least Thursday afternoon.
And in the Pacific Northwest, wind-driven snow from a new system reducing visibility. Drivers going off the road in Washington State, and in Portland, Oregon, 3 people killed after a tree branch caused a power line to fall on their vehicle. And David, the cold and the storms continue to cause major problems for airlines. Once again today, more than 1,000 flights canceled, about 5,000 flights delayed, and now the airlines are preparing as yet another storm is set to move into the Northeast. David.
All right, Trevor Ault leading us off again tonight. Trevor, thank you. Let's get right to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all. It just keeps coming, Rob.
Yeah, David, here's that new storm. It's been snowing all day. It's going to continue tomorrow as it drives through the mountains and into the plains, where already we have winter alerts up from South Dakota through much of Iowa again and into the Mid-South, including Memphis and much of Kentucky. So here we go. As it goes into the plains, the low begins to develop more right over the heartland. Precip is straddling it as it drives up the Ohio River. It's going to move quickly like the last one. Everyone's going to get snow, say, north of I-40, and then out of here by Friday afternoon. But I-95 is going to be all snow. D.C., Philly, New York, there by lunchtime, probably gone by Friday night. But 1 to 3 inches again. 3 to 6, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, back through Chicago. But here comes the cold behind it again. Looks like a brutal weekend again for Kansas City. Minus 20 for a wind chill. 0 again Memphis. That snow sticks. Chicago 15, 16 below. And New York, no picnic at 9 degrees as well. Hello, January.
No question about that. Rob Marciano live in Colorado with the system that's coming east. Rob, thank you. Meantime, in New York City tonight, there's an urgent manhunt underway at this hour for a possible serial stabber. Multiple stabbing attacks just today. One victim stumbling into a dry cleaners for help. The NYPD releasing surveillance images tonight showing the suspect armed with a hunting knife. They're asking for the public's help, and they want to know if he's behind other recent attacks. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos now.
Tonight, an urgent manhunt in New York City for this suspected serial stabber police say is behind multiple attacks in less than 2 weeks.
Obviously, this person is armed and dangerous. So if you know something, call the NYPD immediately.
Around 8 this morning, authorities say the suspect stabbed 3 men in separate attacks in Queens. One of the victims stumbling into Bruce Ann's dry cleaners for help.
He said he just walking on the street and some young guy behind him, he just stepped in his back.
Tonight, police releasing these images of the suspect armed with a hunting knife. Authorities believe he is responsible for at least 2 other assaults in Queens, including a woman stabbed in her torso just a day ago. And in Brooklyn, investigators working to determine if a knife attack on a train this morning is also linked to the suspect. The victim suffering a non-life-threatening injury to the stomach.
David, all of the victims are expected to survive, but as authorities search for this suspected serial stabber, they are warning New Yorkers this suspect is armed and dangerous, so they should stay alert. David.
All right, Stephanie Ramos tonight. Steph, thank you. We turn now to the drama in a Manhattan federal court. Writer E. Jean Carroll taking the stand in her defamation case against Donald Trump. A jury already finding Trump liable in the case before. Trump in the courtroom today, Carroll testifying when Trump made himself heard. The judge threatening to eject him, and Aaron Katursky at the courthouse.
Tonight, fireworks in the court. Donald Trump face-to-face with E. Jean Carroll. A jury has already found him liable for sexually assaulting her in a dressing room at Bergdorf Goodman in the 1990s and then defaming her. Carroll's now suing Trump a second time, saying he continues to badmouth her. Carroll testified, "I'm here because Donald Trump assaulted me, and when I wrote about it, he lied and he shattered my reputation." She told the jury, "I've paid just about as dearly as is possible to pay." Her attorney said Trump unleashed his followers to go after Carroll, showing the court a series of violent and threatening messages she's received, including one saying, "I hope someone really does attack, rape, and murder you." Carroll says she now lives on hyper alert with a pit bull patrolling her house and a gun by her bed. As Carroll testified, Trump could be heard muttering, "It really is a con job." Though again, he has already been found liable for assaulting and defaming Carroll and ordered to pay damages. Judge Lewis Kaplan warning him to be quiet. "Mr. Trump, I hope I don't have to consider excluding you from the trial." Trump throwing up his arms, "I would love it. I would love it." The judge responding, "I know you would because you can't control yourself." Tonight, Trump still claiming he doesn't know Carroll, even though her attorney showed this picture. Trump and Carroll greeting each other in 1987.
This is a person I have no idea until this happened, obviously. I have no idea who she was, and nor could I care less.
The jury will now decide how much more Trump owes Carroll for his continued insults, including his statement that she's not my type, which Carroll says she took to mean I'm too ugly to assault.
Trump has already been ordered to pay Carroll $5 million in damages. She's now looking for at least another $10 million. David, she'll be back on the witness stand tomorrow for more cross-examination. David.
Aaron Katursky at the courthouse tonight. Aaron, thank you. Now to New Hampshire tonight, less than a week to go until the New Hampshire primary. Former President Trump taking aim now at Nikki Haley, who has pulled within single digits of Trump in the polls there. And Ron DeSantis determined to keep going. Here's Rachel Scott.
He's trailing in New Hampshire, but today Florida Governor Ron DeSantis urging his supporters to stick with him.
This is going to be a long slog.
But DeSantis is leaving New Hampshire tonight and heading to Florida. He'll be back on Friday, but he's spending the final weekend before the primary in South Carolina, where he's now moved the majority of his staff. That contest, not until February 24th. It comes with New Hampshire polls showing former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley within single digits of the frontrunner Donald Trump.
We came out strong. Now we want to finish New Hampshire and come out even stronger.
Trump ramping up his attacks on his former UN ambassador, saying she's not tough enough.
Nikki Haley is a disaster. And honestly, she was not a good negotiator. She was not a good negotiator.
But when Haley left his administration, Trump had nothing but praise.
She's done an incredible job. She's a fantastic person.
Haley now tying Trump to President Biden,
saying it's time to move on from both of them.
The majority of Americans think that having two 80-year-olds running for president is not what they want.
Donald Trump touching down in New Hampshire tonight, where he'll hold a rally here in Portsmouth. Nikki Haley holding a competing event, insisting that her campaign is the best hope of stopping what she calls the Biden-Trump nightmare. David.
Rachel Scott again tonight. Thank you, Rachel. We're going to turn now to news from the UK tonight, where Princess Catherine will be in the hospital for as many as 2 weeks after undergoing abdominal surgery. What we've now learned, and Buckingham Palace now revealing that King Charles will also have surgery next week, and why they say he wanted his diagnosis to be shared. Here's our foreign correspondent, James Longman, from London.
Tonight, health scares for the most senior members of Britain's royal family. Kensington Palace revealing the Princess of Wales underwent abdominal surgery yesterday and will have to recover in the hospital for as many as 14 days. The palace says the princess's condition is not cancerous, but did not share any more details, adding Catherine hopes that the public will understand her desire to maintain as much normality for her children as possible and her wish that her personal medical information remains private. The 42-year-old princess, who was last seen at Christmas, will now be out of the public eye until after Easter. And not long after Kate's news emerged, Buckingham Palace released a statement saying King Charles will also undergo surgery next week. In a statement, the palace said, in common with thousands of men each year, the king has sought treatment for an enlarged prostate. His Majesty's condition is benign. Prostate problems are common among men Charles's age. The 75-year-old will stay at the hospital overnight and has also cancelled engagements until he recovers.
David, the King remains able to fulfill his constitutional duties, but Prince William is also going to have to take a bit of a step back to look after their children and, of course, his wife as she recovers. David?
James Longman in London tonight. James, thank you. Back here at home into the disturbing video, a 14-year-old boy with autism tased by police in his own backyard. The family calling it a case of mistaken identity. An officer can be heard questioning if they have the right person. Alex Perez with the police video tonight, and we warn, it is disturbing.
Tonight, parents outraged after they say their teenage son with autism was mistaken for a suspect and tased by police outside Chicago. Body camera video obtained by our station WLS is showing officers apprehending 14-year-old Avarius Thompson last November.
Get your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Get out!
Thompson's family says he was returning home from getting snacks at the grocery store when he was tased multiple times in their own backyard.
Don't move! You move, you gotta get some more!
Dalton, Illinois police say they were called to assist neighboring Riverdale police who were searching for 4 suspects, 2 carrying rifles and a handgun. Thompson's clothes, quote, matching the description.
Don't move!
But in the video, one officer questions whether they have the right person.
I don't think that's him, bro. This might not be him.
Thompson hospitalized with tase marks on his body and a fractured hip. His mother frantic. The family's attorney says the teenager was never charged.
He's just a lovable kid, you know, and I couldn't believe that this could happen to my kid.
And David, the Riverdale police chief said suspects were ultimately arrested and charged. In a statement, the city of Dalton says the incident is under investigation. David?
All right, Alex Perez reporting tonight. Alex, thank you. Next this evening to the breaking news coming in as we're on the air in the West from the Middle East. The U.S. officials tonight confirming the U.S. has now launched new retaliatory strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen, the Iranian-backed militants. They had targeted a second American cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden. The new attacks tonight come after 3 rounds of U.S. airstrikes targeted their facilities. The White House had said they had limited the Houthis' arsenal but did not eliminate it. Now, more U.S. strikes now underway against those militants tonight. Meantime, the first shipment of medicine for dozens of hostages held by Hamas has arrived in Gaza, part of a deal brokered by Qatar and Egypt. The deal is broader than expected. A Qatari spokesman said for every box of medicine provided for hostages, 1,000 boxes of medicine would be provided for Palestinians. The Red Cross will now deliver the aid. This is the first agreement between Israel and Hamas since a temporary truce in November that freed dozens of captives. Back in Washington, D.C., to the high-stakes meeting at the White House late today involving funding for Ukraine. President Biden sitting down with congressional leaders from both parties, warning them of the urgent need for Ukraine. The Speaker of the House, though, saying the border must come first. Let's get right to Mary Bruce live at the White House. Mary, where does this stand tonight?
Well, David, tonight both sides are describing this meeting here at the White House as productive, but right now the path forward still is not clear. Republican Speaker Johnson saying that while he understands the need for more funding for Ukraine, they have to tackle U.S. border policy first. Now, President Biden has said he is willing to compromise, but it's still not clear what he would be willing to accept. And the White House tonight well aware that a bipartisan deal is now coming together in the Senate. Even GOP leader Mitch McConnell telling Republicans this could be their best chance to get something done on immigration. Now, meanwhile, the White House is warning Republicans the funding has run out, saying that Ukraine could possibly lose this war to Russia if the U.S. doesn't step up. David.
Mary Bruce live at the White House for us with late reporting. Mary, thank you. When we come back, news coming in tonight about the 10-year-old boy attacked by a shark in the Bahamas and what we're now learning about his condition. Also, the stunning death tonight of an NBA coach. The Warriors devastated by the loss of their assistant coach. And what Jason Kelce is now saying about retirement.
You can feel it when your dream becomes a pursuit. And with vitiligo, the pursuit for your pigment is no exception. It's time you had a proven choice to help restore what's yours. Opzelura is the first and only FDA-approved prescription treatment for non-segmental vitiligo.
And heartbreaking. And when you look at this, you can see that the branch fell on top of the car. And so they were concerned, right? And they were scared and they got out of their car. And that's what turned tragic. Can you give us some insight of what you do in this type of scenario and avoid and things to avoid doing?
Yeah, certainly. If you happen to be in a vehicle that has a down power line across it, the best thing to do is just ride it out safely in your vehicle. The insulation provided by the tires, the rubber of your tires onto the ground, will keep you safe inside the vehicle. But once you begin to exit and you're touching the vehicle itself, along with touching the ground, you become part of that electrical circuitry. And unfortunately, you could have some grave consequences. So alert emergency services to have professionals come and de-energize that line, and you can talk about how scary it was rather than the converse of that.
So it's important to stay in your car and call 911. And Rick, let's talk about the 2-year-old. We know that the 2-year-old was taken to the hospital. Do you have any updates on how that 2-year-old is doing?
No, I don't have any updates, but that young child looked as mine did at that age, just happy, completely unaware of the situation that had just occurred, and it was emotionally charged. It was moving, for sure.
Yeah, you can imagine how difficult this moment is for so many in responding to that. Rick, I feel like we look at this video here and we talk about how impactful this storm has been, and many think, well, this could never happen to me, but you do see trees that fall on cars and power lines. Can you give us an insight of how often situations like this could occur?
You know, we live in a very forested area, you know, a mosaic of trees throughout our community. And we have exceptionally large fir trees that have been riding out storms for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. But with the trees, they do fall, branches break. They can come crashing down on vehicles or cars. In this case, with the down power line, again, we'd like to encourage you to stay put. Have arborists come out and take a look at the trees that are surrounding your personal home so that you know that you have a safe environment, provided that we have storms that come through that have significant winds and can topple trees and cause significant issues.
Rick, I do want to ask you real quickly, I know we're focusing on this tragic incident. Is there anything else that has played out? Because we know this was a back-to-back ice storm, and it has been such a difficult storm. I mean, these are the toughest ones to get through at times because the ice can be paralyzing.
You know, we had a real interesting 5 days. The first part of the storm came, and it was so cold. There was snow dropping, but the soil was still warm enough. The snow didn't build up. But then the cold snap cooled off the soil and the ambient area, and now all this rain is coming down and just instantly creating ice everywhere. And that ice is weighting things down, whether it be power lines or trees or branches of trees, and causing a significant issue. You know, and on top of that, the freeze here in Portland is causing a lot of residential water lines to rupture. So the myriad of emergencies that people are responding to, our organization is responding to, is continuous and it's widespread. We're responding to about 4 times the number of calls that we normally do. The crews are out fighting fire, addressing these situations, as well as people who have water openly flowing in their home, and we're trying to get to their location to shut it off to reduce property damage. It's quite something right now.
Yeah, it's been a very devastating past 5 days, to say the least, and hats off to you and your teams for the incredible work that you're doing to help keep people safe throughout this event. Rick Graves, Public Information Officer for Portland Fire and Rescue, thank you for being with us on Fox Weather.
Thanks for having me.
And to the south now, where they've been dealing with a few weather issues that they're not exactly used to, and that's snow and bitter cold. In Arkansas, snowplows have worked hard to clear highways and streets. And Fox Weather correspondent Brandy Campbell is in Little Rock with how the region has been coping with the winter storm.
We're taking a look across the South as several states got their share of real winter impacts. This comes after several weeks of severe weather. This storm brought on some of the coldest air since the February freeze in 2021, calling for wind chill advisories and watches as far south as the Mexican border. We're going to start here in Arkansas from the state capital of Little Rock. One of the lowest temperatures felt in this state hit -7 degrees. Some areas of the state saw as much as 8 inches of snow, providing a playground for some, but it also shut down several school systems and local governments for at least 2 days and created dangerous snow-packed roads where at least one driver died after driving off the road and hitting a tree. Take a look at the snowfall from Nashville, Tennessee. Snowfall measured nearly 8 inches. It's more snow than what the Tennessee capital gets on average for an entire winter, normally around 4.7 inches. Winter weather there was also devastating. The state confirmed 6 weather-related fatalities. Now to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where wind chill advisories and hard freeze warnings were still in effect this Wednesday morning. Here you can.
But our team on the ground says there is very intense fighting going on in the city of Han Yunis right now, especially around the Nasser hospital. It's one of the only major hospitals in Gaza still functioning. The Jordanian government says a field hospital that it is operating was damaged by Israeli fire in the south earlier. Israel is denying that it was responsible, but I can tell you for Palestinian civilians on the ground, it does not feel like de-escalation right now. Tom.
Raf Sanchez from Tel Aviv tonight for us. Raf, we thank you for that. Now to an NBC News exclusive, the Palestinian-American student paralyzed in a Vermont shooting last November, now speaking out for the first time. sharing his story of how a walk around the block with friends changed their lives forever.
I just remember gunshots and falling down.
For the first time, Hishem Awartani, the Palestinian-American college student who was shot and paralyzed, is telling his story, how he and his two friends were ambushed on a November night in Burlington, Vermont, he says, because of racism.
Growing up in Palestine, this was something that I'd always thought was possible.
But did you think it happened here?
Not really, no. I definitely expected it would happen to me in like, the West Bank in Palestine, but not in Vermont.
Hishem and his two best friends, Kinan Abdalhamid and Tassin Ali Ahmed, all grew up together in the West Bank, doing everything together, including going to college in the U.S. With the war raging, the friends decided to stay with Hishem's family in Burlington during the Thanksgiving break.
Hishem's uncle was driving us from bowling alley, and before we went into the house, we decided to walk around the blocks, what we usually do. And on the way back, just across the road, we saw this man standing.
Tahsin and I were both wearing the kufiya, like the traditional Palestinian headscarf, for a variety of reasons. Like, I mean, like, practically because it was really cold, but on a more, like, you know, meaningful sense, it's because that we felt as Palestinians during this time period, it's important for us to show our identity and to show that we exist and that we're human. Just walking along the street, you know, this man comes down the porch, approaches us, pulls out a pistol, like, I just remember gunshots and falling down.
Tahsin was screaming when he was shot first. Hishem didn't make a sound while I was running. As soon as Tahsin started screaming, I was running.
Did you know you were shot?
I mean, I knew that something was up. I didn't quite process the fact until I, like, looked at my phone and I saw my phone had blood on it. I was like, oh, I'd been shot.
All units be advised the shooter's unaccounted for.
The next day, federal agents arrested 48-year-old Jason Eaton, who lived steps from the shooting and had an arsenal of weapons in his apartment. He allegedly told the authorities who arrested him, "I've been waiting for you." Eaton has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder charges.
Why do you think he shot you? Systematic dehumanization. I just don't think of the issue as an individual. I think there's been a lot of attempts for us to fully only demonize the guy, but we realize this is part of a larger systematic issue, which both on purpose and not, people would like to focus on him as an individual. Oh, he's just this one evil guy. But the truth is he's a symptom of a larger issue.
The bullet that hit Hishem struck his spine. Now paralyzed, he's learning how to navigate his new life.
When they told you what your future may look like, or at least what the immediate future would look like, what was that moment like?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely like something that's hard, but I take solace in the fact that I'm able to receive this care and I'm able to receive this physical therapy and I'm able to, you know, go to a good hospital when, like, it makes me think of, like, other people in Gaza, like, who are in wheelchairs and who, you know, have been disabled by, like, bombings, and, like, they are not able to receive that. They can't even receive, like, the primary care that they need, like, let alone the rehabilitative care that they deserve. And, you know, that was something that I thought of more than my own life, because I know that my life will continue, but I don't know about theirs.
What's it like to see your friend, your best friend, your brother, in a wheelchair?
It's very hard. Yeah, it's very, very hard. It's really unfortunate, but I'm also humbled by the strength of our people, both in West Bank and Gaza, because I could only imagine what they're going through.
Yeah. As he goes through rehab, his family, including his mother, who is American, right by his side.
I'm so angry, not at what happened to him, but the fact that he is being seen as part of a community that can be exterminated and can be demolished and can be abused without anyone standing up. But I'm a mother, and my son is alive, and he's cared for. And I am so angry that other mothers don't have that. And so what is my pain to the pain of other mothers? And what is my grief? I still have my child. I can still touch him. But to know that other mothers don't have that makes me angry, and then my grief fades away.
Your moms are both here, but I noticed when your mom asked you to take a picture, you smiled. That was the first time I saw you smile. What has your mom meant to you throughout this experience?
It's been very good to have her nearby. Initially, I didn't want them to come because I didn't want them to leave my brother and sister alone in Palestine. But it's been good to have both my parents here. And, you know, it reminds me of like the importance of family in Palestinian society, and you know, we as a community in Palestine, a way that we're able to get through so much adversity is being together and supporting each other as families, and that just made me appreciate that more.
So far, the suspect in this case, Jason Eastna, has not been charged with a hate crime. The state attorney in the case has said there's no doubt this was a hateful act, and they are still investigating the crime. Okay, still ahead, the police raid outrage. Body cam video capturing the moment police in Ohio detonated a flash bomb outside of a 1-year-old's bedroom while his mother is saying they were at the wrong house. Plus, incredible video capturing the moment a Vermont state trooper jumped into freezing cold water to save a little girl who fell through the ice. What she told us about those heart-pounding moments. And a major update on those pesky overdraft fees. The step the Biden administration is taking that will affect how much you have to pay the bank when this happens. Top story, just getting started on this Wednesday.
There was a time when the world whispered, when quiet blanketed the meadows, stillness eased our minds, and all the sharp edges softened in the gently falling snow. There was a time when we hiked in wordless wonder, and the only sound we heard was the steady beating of our grateful hearts. It was a peaceful time. It was winter, this winter, at Biltmore. Stay during the lowest rates of the year. Learn more at Biltmore.com.
A time of wonder, exploration, and growth. In Greater Atlanta, though, 500,000 children live in areas of high need. We're building brighter futures for the kids of our communities, no matter their neighborhood. To us, child well-being means a good night story in a comfy bed, a game night at the kitchen table, a big swing on a playground, a healthy checkup, a home-cooked meal shared together, a sure foot forward, and a caring hand, always there to guide you. And that's why we're here, rolling up our sleeves alongside our neighbors, ensuring all children have access to secure housing, nutritious food, health care, and the educational programs that set them up for a brighter future. Join us.
Stay on top of breaking news and the biggest stories of the day with NBC News Daily.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Morgan Radford.
I'm Vicki Wynn.
I'm Kate Snow.
And I'm Zinklea Samwat.
Get in-depth reporting from across the country.
We have breaking news out of the White House
and around the world.
Questions about the rebellion inside Russia.
And ways you can take care of your health.
What are symptoms that people should be on the lookout for?
Andrew Wallace.
Some really great last-minute deals if you have flexibility.
NBC News Daily. Weekdays from 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC News Now.
We're back now with the growing outrage after a police raid sent an Ohio toddler to the hospital. Police saying they executed a search warrant at the correct address, but the toddler's mother saying her Ring camera captures someone saying they were at the wrong location after police deployed a flashbang device. The child suffering burns and struggling to breathe. For more on this story, Valerie Castro joins us. Valerie, what's the latest?
Tom, according to police reports and documents that were released by the city of Elyria, this all had to do with a police investigation surrounding stolen firearms, and police were there at the home to serve a search warrant looking for a suspect. In the body camera footage, you can see about a dozen officers in tactical gear outside the home. They bang on the door and shout that they have a warrant. About 6 seconds after that first knock, officers set off flashbangs outside the house. That shatters a window, and then they bust open the door. Once they do so, you see Courtney Price, the mother of the baby. She is there inside the home, her hands raised over her head, telling police officers that she has a baby on a ventilator. Now, in a statement, police say they believe they were at the correct house, but Price says that the person that they were looking for hasn't lived there in more than a year. She says now her aunt and uncle live there, and she recently moved to Ohio to stay with them while their baby baby waits for heart surgery. Her baby waits for heart surgery. She says her baby was born prematurely and has a lung condition as well as a hole in his heart. She says after this all happened, he was taken to the hospital, and doctors tell her that her baby was suffering from smoke irritation to his lungs as well as some irritation around his eyes due to some sort of chemical component. Police in a statement say that they did use 2 flashbangs when they entered the home. They say those were for sound and light purposes. They say there was no chemical component there. And in a statement, they say any allegation suggesting the child was exposed to chemical agents is not true. There is also some Ring video camera, doorbell video footage that Price gave to NBC News. NBC News obtained that from the mother. She claims that you can hear someone saying that this is the wrong home. Now, it is unclear who says that, because after those flashbangs go off, the doorbell Ring camera falls to the ground. So again, it's not clear who says that. If police say that or someone else, police have not responded to that portion of the video. And again, the mayor now calling for a full investigation. Tom?
Okay, Valerie Castro with that update for us. Valerie, thanks. Next tonight to some heart-stopping moments in Vermont. It's not often we get to see heroes in the heart of action, but tonight, underwater body cam capturing one state trooper's urgent efforts to reach an 8-year-old child drowning in a frozen pond. We do want to warn you, some of these images are graphic, but the girl in this story was rescued and is alive. Here's Stephen Romo with the video of the story.
When Vermont State Trooper Michelle Archer arrived on scene at this frozen pond in Cambridge, she feared it was already too late.
I saw this call come up on the screen, a 6-year-old floating in a pond, possibly deceased.
Just minutes earlier, an 8-year-old girl and her sibling plunged into the water after the ice cracked. The 80-year-old property owner able to save the younger child who was near the shore, but the 8-year-old unreachable near the center of the pond.
I don't know if it's instinct or training, but, something took over.
Once on scene, Trooper Archer jumping into that freezing water and swimming toward the child. She drags the girl to shore, putting her on her side. Then, the remarkable realization. The little girl was still alive.
Well, the first sigh of relief came when I pulled her out of the water and I heard those kind of audible noises. Because at that point, I wasn't sure if she was still breathing or not. She's making noises.
Trooper Archer calling for her colleague to help.
Here, baby girl. Here, baby girl. Michelle, get out of your clothes.
Trooper Keith Cody making sure the 8-year-old was okay and taking her to an ambulance on site.
We cover a widespread area, and for whatever reason, the both of us were 3 minutes away from this pond where this little girl needed help.
The child taken to a hospital in Burlington with injuries that at first were thought to be life-threatening. But amazingly, she made a full recovery and is now back home.
How's the other one? She's cold.
The Vermont State Police Department now recommending the 2 troopers and the 80-year-old property owner for the agency's life-saving award.
We come across calls that stick with us, for a while, if not for the length of our careers and beyond. So that this is definitely one of those calls that we'll always be thinking about.
All right, Stephen Romo joins us now. Sorry, Stephen, it's just that video. It's just so hard to watch. I'm so happy she was rescued and she's alive. I think those troopers, they probably deserve a lot more than just awards, right? Because they literally saved that little girl's life, and it was very brave what they did. What are some tips that parents and people should always remember when they're around icy ponds like that?
Yeah, this is a fascinating thing that I learned about the story. I grew up in Texas, don't really know much about this, but some of the things, the tips that we have from these troopers, areas with moving water has thinner ice most of the time. Snow-covered ice also likely to be thinner, and ice doesn't freeze uniformly. It freezes at different rates. And snow-covered ice, as we mentioned, thinner. Ice with rocks, logs, and sticks, I didn't know about this one at all, is more likely to be weaker, and shady areas also likely to have thinner ice. Some important tips there, but the thing that I'm left with is the trooper that we talked to saying that it's really not worth it. The risk versus reward here for playing on ice, especially letting kids play on ice, it's just not worth it. It's never going to be something that's a good solution.
I agree with that. And again, that trooper just jumping into that icy pond, not knowing what she was going to find. All right, Stephen, thank you. Coming up next, a powerful retail magnate facing new legal scrutiny. The FBI announcing an investigation into the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch.
treating this like a murder case. You don't really think we're gonna find them, do you?
We are this close. Some questions just don't have answers.
True Detective Night Country, streaming exclusively on Max.
News lives in the now.
Israel tonight declaring war against Hamas following the brutal surprise attack within its own borders.
Now is raw.
We are in the West Bank city of Ramallah. Protesters are on the streets here to denounce Israel.
Now is real.
Most of the time, the Iron Dome works, but there are rare occasions that a few get through, like here in Ashkelon.
News for the generation of now is NBC News Now. Streaming free everywhere.
All right, we're back down with Top Stories news feed, and we begin with the FBI investigating a former Abercrombie CEO, Mike Jeffries. According to reports, federal agents are now investigating allegations the ex-retail magnate and his business partners sexually exploited and abused men in New York and around the world. As we reported in October, a lawsuit accused Jeffries of using his influence and power to carry out an alleged sex trafficking operation. 3 Seattle police officers acquitted in the 2020 killing of Manuel Ellis have agreed to leave the department. Each man, though, expected to receive $500,000 from Tacoma PD as part of a voluntary resignation agreement with the city. Video captured the officers beating, tasing, and pinning Ellis to the ground while he was handcuffed. He was heard saying he could not breathe and later died. Lawyers for the officers claim meth and a heart condition led to his death. The use of force policy for the department has since been updated. The White House is cracking down on overdraft fees. The Biden administration announcing today that bank overdraft fees could drop to as little as $3. The proposal is the administration's latest attempt to cap junk fees it says place a burden on American consumers, particularly those living paycheck to paycheck. Major banks face billions of dollars in revenue losses and are expected to challenge that plan. And Apple takes over as the world's #1 phone maker for the first time ever. Apple has knocked Samsung from a 12-year run as the world's dominant phone maker. Apple sold 234 million phones last year, even as the industry sees the lowest number of smartphone purchases in over a decade. Samsung said it expects lower profits due to decreased global demand and increased competition in emerging markets. Okay, we want to turn now to an alarming trend in healthcare. Colorectal cancer spiking among younger Americans. The disease now the leading cause of death in men under the age of 50. Scientists are working around the clock to figure out just why this is happening. NBC's Ann Thompson has the story.
Sierra Fuller was just hitting her stride, building a trauma therapy practice and closing on a house with her husband, Steve. Then at 32 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 3B, requiring radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery.
Did you have any family history of colorectal cancer?
No.
No.
And I got genetic testing done, and I have no genetic markers for it either.
Sierra's story, part of what the American Cancer Society says is an alarming trend. Colorectal cancer is now the leading cause of cancer deaths in men under the age of 50, and the second among women of the same age.
We do suspect it's something in the environment, but what that is, we don't know. Likely, it's a combination of things that's affecting our microbiomes or our immune systems that may be leading to why this is happening younger and younger.
Dr. Kimmy Ng is an oncologist at Boston's Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and is seeing a dramatic increase in patients in their 20s and 30s.
Younger people tend to have more advanced cancers, correct?
Yes, the majority of our young patients who are diagnosed, unfortunately, are diagnosed with either stage 3 or 4 colorectal cancer.
Dr. Ng says screening is crucial, especially with a family history of colorectal cancer. If not, colonoscopies begin at 45. And be aware of symptoms, including blood in the stool, abdominal pain, and unintentional weight loss. Now healthy, Sierra is not wasting a minute, traveling and thinking about a family. Her eggs preserved before her treatment.
Now, yes, it would have to be surrogacy. It would be a completely different way to become a parent.
Finding the right pieces in the puzzle of life together. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Boston.
All right, we thank Ann for that. We want to continue our coverage now on that dangerous cold gripping half of the country because it's causing a major problem on the roads, including crashes, but also causing a big headache for many electric vehicle owners. Adrian Broadus explains.
Electric vehicles may save drivers on the cost of filling up, but this winter, growing frustrations for drivers stuck waiting at charging stations.
But you still have to wait for those other cars to get through charging, to even get to the charger.
Uber driver Marcus Campbell says he spent hours this week charging his car after freezing temperatures swept across Chicago.
I'm not making no money, and time is money.
The problem? The cars run on lithium batteries, which can take longer to charge in cold temperatures. You may even need to charge more often. According to AAA, the average electric vehicle's driving range decreases by 41% when the temperature outside dips to 20 degrees and when the car's heater or AC is on. For each electric vehicle model, the EPA lists the mileage, but experts say that number can be misleading.
We've seen that is wrong on day one and doesn't account for weather variance. So EVs get less range in the extreme cold and they get a little bit less range in the extreme heat.
Experts say especially when it's cold, drivers should keep their vehicles charged overnight, ideally in a garage. And don't let your car's charge fall below 20%. If the battery drops to zero, the car will have to be towed and possibly repaired. In Chicago, some tow truck businesses getting a boost. David Burt says he's been busy in the cold.
We have seen an increase in calls from a lot of different owners that have electric vehicles.
While some learn to weather the inconvenience, for others, the challenges are too much.
I'll be getting a gas vehicle ASAP.
But it's not it for you?
It's not it for me.
Adrian Broadus, NBC News, Chicago.
All right, we thank Adrian for that. Now to some breaking news out of the Americas and a story we've been following closely. A prosecutor in Ecuador who was investigating that TV studio attack has been killed. You may remember last week, armed gang members stormed a news station in Guayaquil, tying up the staff. Officials now say the lead investigator in that case was found fatally shot today. No arrests have been made in the shooting. Just yesterday, the prosecutor told local media he did not have police protection after having been assigned to investigate the January 9th attack. More international headlines coming up, including Arnold Schwarzenegger detained in Munich, why the former California governor was stopped at the airport for hours over a watch, and what he had to do.
Monday morning.
Need help from people, so the Erie County Sheriff sometimes will ask for snowmobile helpers, and there's a snowmobile club here in the Western New York area, and we'll go out and help people that need help, that need to get to a hospital, that need medication. People that are in trouble, we'll go and help them. So Buffalo is the city of good neighbors, and we continue to prove that. You'll see that people will help anybody. We don't care. We're here to help you. Buffalo is a wonderful city. It's a secret. We don't tell anybody. It's a great town.
All right, the car coach, Lauren Fix. We'll see who has the thicker blood come this weekend between Buffalo and KC. Have a great week. Stay safe out there in the snow.
And staying on the East Coast, let's head to Maine, where families and businesses are recovering from coastal flooding over the past weekend. And one business that was impacted by the flooding was Helen's Restaurant in Machias.
So joining us now is actually the owner of the restaurant, Julie Baker. Julie, thank you for being with us. And can you walk us through the day of the flooding? And were you anticipating the flooding to be this intense and extreme?
Wednesday storm was, high tide was around, we typically open at 11. So we were delaying opening until we knew what was really going to happen. The winds were blowing, which impacted that very high tide, the highest tide of the month. So we knew it was coming in. We had the crew that normally plows our driveway. They were available, and they got the ice flows that were along the riverbank because it's a tidal river. So when the tide rose really high, all the ice flows came right into our parking lot, and it wrapped around the building, and they got it cleared out, and we were able to open at noontime that day. It was very slow. We lost a bunch of shingles off the top of the roof, but the building did not have any damage, so we were very lucky.
That is great to hear that your business building did not sustain any damage. But Julie, we think about the fact that this is really the second significant storm that your area has experienced in just a few weeks. Can you describe the impacts the flooding has had on your business and other businesses in the area?
Yeah, so we had a fire in 2014, and when we rebuilt, because we are on the river, we built above the 100-year floodplain. So that really helped us a lot with this storm. We have some lower lying businesses next door to us that were really impacted. They had a lot of flooding, but they were able to get it cleaned up, and they have opened back up again. So, we're very grateful for that. The tide, once it turned, it went out really quickly. So that was, that's always a good thing, but it definitely was one of the higher tides we've ever seen.
And Julie, that's saying a lot. I mean, we look at this year has been quite active for down East Maine. I think about Hurricane Lee over the tropical season, which came pushing through and went through the Bay of Fundy, but did a big impact on your region. And you can look at how these winter storms can be just as dangerous, or if not more dangerous. I want to ask you, though, where you stand in the recovery process and what you are in need of most at this time.
We lost business because we were closed. We have a lot of staff that were out of work because of that. For Saturday, we had to close. The temperatures dropped on Saturday after that. That was actually supposed to be the higher tide, and it wasn't as bad because the winds picked up later in the afternoon, so the tide had already receded. So it wasn't as severe on Saturday, except that the temperatures dropped, the roads became very treacherous, so we weren't able to be open for more than 3 hours that day. So we have staff that was without work. We were closed for a couple days, and that we feel very fortunate that that is the only bit that we have to deal with. So many fishing villages, old wharves, family businesses that were completely destroyed as their wharves were washed out to sea.
Just an extremely difficult situation, but Julie, we are so glad to hear that things are improving for you all. Owner of Helen's Restaurant, Julie Barker, thank you so much for being with us on Fox Weather, and we wish you all the best with your continued recovery.
Thank you so much.
And let's go down to Florida and the East Coast, because SpaceX is set for a rocket launch in Cape Canaveral tomorrow after that launch was actually postponed today.
Houthi rebels back on the terrorist list?
Pretty significant. In the early days of the Biden administration, they had taken the Houthis off this list in order to help the civilian population of Yemen. It was a very dire situation. This reverses that partially. So the Biden administration has chosen to now nominate the Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist organization. So they're not putting them on the foreign terrorist organization list, which would be more serious, but they are, as you say, partially reversing that decision. In the State Department's statement, Antony Blinken said that there will be a 30-day implementation delay, so this is going to take place from February 16th. And during that time, the U.S. government will conduct robust outreach to stakeholders, aid providers, and partners who are crucial to facilitating humanitarian assistance. And also, the Department of Treasury is publishing licenses authorizing certain transactions related to things like the provision of food, medicine, and fuel in order to make sure that the Yemeni people have what they need and that the Houthis don't stop this from becoming a much more larger humanitarian crisis. The Houthi response, as you might imagine, was quite chest-bearing. The first response was grateful. The Houthis spokesperson said the designation was a badge of honor and a recognition of the impact of the group's ship attacks and support for Palestinians. And as if to reinforce that, hours later, we get this attack on an American vessel. So it was almost as if the Houthis were saying, bring it on, thank you very much. The spokesperson said post this attack on the vessel, which the ship owner did confirm, that there would be more attacks and that the Houthis were well within their reason to use attacks as self-defense measures. Now, separately and originally reported by Politico, I want to point out that the European Union is very, very close now to signing off on sanctions for its part targeting the Hamas leadership. This is slightly separate from the Houthi question and the group's financing. I mean, all of these are designed to sort of cut off funding for these various organizations. Well, the European Union hadn't come together on designating Hamas as a sanctions recipient, but it's now very close to doing that and will happen on Monday. And one of the sticking blocks was that some in the European Union said that travel bans should be considered and asset freezes for some of the Israeli settlers as well. So this is all getting ironed out according to people familiar with the matter, and we may hear more by Monday.
President Herzog of Israel headed to Davos, and in fact due to give a speech on Wednesday. He's accompanied by the families of Hamas hostages to try and step up pressure for the release. We know that about 136 hostages remain still captured, but also how are things going when it comes to the humanitarian aspect of this conflict?
Well, there's movement, at least, Heidi. How much, it's in the eye of the beholder, right? So, as you said, President Herzog and his wife and some of the families of the hostages are now in Davos. Today they were due to give a speech and to talk as well on panels on anti-Semitism and just ramping up the pressure really on international governments to get more involved potentially in turning the screw on the hostage situation, although that very likely depends on people like Benjamin Netanyahu. So as you said, 136 hostages. There was a Qatar-France moderated deal, as we know, to get some medicine to those hostages that desperately needed 3 months worth of medicine going into Gaza for those hostages. But the deal was struck with Hamas, and one of the sort of things that Hamas wanted was that for every box that went in for hostages,
lake effect snow begin to track a little further southward. And so that's going to mean that we could see potentially an additional maybe 1 to even 3 feet of snow all the way through Thursday. So some areas will be picking up a lot of snow, other areas not so much. It really is dependent on where you're located and where we've got kind of the heaviest bands of snow working their way downwind of the Great Lakes. So Lakes Erie, Lakes Ontario, that's where we've got the bands of lake effect snow. And again, the winds, mainly out of the southwest, will begin to shift out of the west through tonight. So these are our steering winds, and that's again going to really kind of put the bullseye, especially as you can see on this graphic, just to the south of Watertown. So there's I-81 and points just right along and to the west of I-81. That's where we could see some really impressive totals, as well as down south. So here's Lake Erie. So you can see downwind of Lake Erie, again, Buffalo, we could see potentially several additional inches, maybe close to a foot or more by the time the system wraps on up. So Watertown over the next 3 days, snow is in the forecast all the way through Thursday. And then this next cross-country storm will actually be pushing its way on through on Thursday, helping to kind of put a halt to the lake effect snow machine just temporarily. But behind it, it is going to be cold, dropping down to just 1 degree both Friday and Saturday night. Steve.
And Kendall, we're going to take it out now into Portland, where thousands are without power across the region because of last night's snow and freezing rain packing a powerful punch. Some have yet to recover from the first round that hit yesterday. Only yesterday, I should say, but on Saturday, right? The 2 different waves of this. Let's bring in Fox Weather correspondent Max Gordon, who's in Portland, Oregon. And Max, we talked last night as this started to push through, and you really see the impacts the next morning when people are trying to get out. I do want to ask you, we did see some rain move through. Have you seen the conditions improve and that ice start to melt a little bit?
Yeah, and we're now above the freezing point. So finally, Portland is thawing out just a little bit. We are seeing a little bit of rain falling here, and we've seen some warmer rain falling throughout the afternoon, but it is still very icy. You can just look down at the ground here. It's starting to melt just a little bit. Here in the downtown area where we are, we've seen about a 1/4 inch of ice accumulation. The National Weather Service's offices here in Portland, they measured 0.4 inches of ice, so nearly 1/2 inch of ice. You know, these ice storms that have passed through the Portland area, they have been deadly as well. Multnomah County says that 4 people have died suspected of hypothermia during the course of these events ever since Multnomah County declared a state of emergency last Friday. And it's just been tough for this community with so many people without power, and then tough just to get around. These are the conditions on the streets right now. Things looking a lot better, but there have been a lot of road closures as well. We had a closure on I-5 just south of Eugene, Oregon. That was last night after some power lines fell across the freeway there. And then we also had a 47-mile stretch of Interstate 84 through the Columbia River Gorge closed because of concerns about heavy icing. Now, really, a big storyline throughout all of this have been the power outages. Tens of thousands of customers currently without power here in Oregon. Utility crews working to get the lights back on. Now, this is, of course, the second ice storm to hit Oregon in just a few days, and a lot of folks here have been without power throughout the entire duration. People here busy clearing toppled trees, and again, just struggling because the lights have not been on for so many days. Take a listen.
Oh, it's been bad. I mean, we've been without power for a couple of days, frozen pipes as well.
Power companies, tree companies, they're all stressed to the max right now. So you really have to rely on community involvement.
They do have a gas water heater, and so they're offering up showers, which was really nice. I got a shower this morning.
We spent a day with our neighbors a few days ago and plugged all our things in and warmed up at their house. They have a generator, so we had a little community building moment.
So it's been slippery on the streets, it's been slippery on the sidewalks, and then it's also been a nightmare for air travel as well. Portland International Airport, PDX, had 2 ground stops today that really tangled up air traffic. There were dozens of delayed flights, canceled flights. Really tough getting in and out, especially for folks flying Alaska. That's an Alaskan hub right there. So, a good idea if you're flying throughout the Pacific Northwest to check with your carrier to make sure that the flight is either on time or it's even going. But, I think just really the good news, though, is that temperatures are warming up and that finally Portland is thawing out. Steve?
Definitely some improvements that we are seeing in Portland and a good sign and a good trend here moving forward that will continue. Fox Weather's Max Gordon, thank you for that update. Let's talk about what this storm system has been like. Let's recap some of this. And you heard Max talk about how deadly this was from the cold aspect, hypothermia. We are getting some more reports coming in, sadly, coming in from the Portland Fire and Rescue, that this has also led to 3 people who died because of a tree branch falling on power lines. They were still live, and the adults and teenagers that were inside the car at the time panicked, got out, and sadly died because that current was still live. So this is an important reminder that any time that there's power lines down, treat it like it is live and make sure you do not move because of that. Concerns growing for this area as there's still power that's out right now. And so now, hopefully, because they're above freezing in the
behind in New Hampshire, we do know that former President Trump will be speaking at this podium tonight. We do know that we saw him in New York earlier today. So far, we have not seen any sign or any 2-minute warning, anything of that nature. So we're going to continue to watch this podium and await the former president's remarks in New Hampshire. The Hampshire primary just under a week away, and with the second big challenge that these GOP hopefuls are going to be fighting for. Let's take a quick 2-minute commercial break. More top headlines when we're back.
Being another rain event, it is warm enough for those spots, not only in Oregon, but in Washington as well. As we look at the snow still to come, you have spots in the Intermountain West, especially the Northern Rockies, or they're in outside of Boise, Idaho, where they could get 1 foot to 1.5 feet of snow for the Grand Tetons, Grand Targhee, Northern Utah, and areas in Colorado. So there's multiple layers to this threat. But overall, you can see just how impactful this has been for those areas out west, and we will continue to track those waves as they push through. Kendall?
All right, and let's take a look at where this storm is headed next, because tomorrow it is going to bring snow to the plains, to the north central plains, and eventually into the Great Lakes region. And then eventually by Friday, we're talking about the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So the I-95 corridor, could see measurable snow for the second time this week. And it's so impactful because a lot of big cities right along the I-95 corridor did not pick up 1 inch of snow in nearly 2 years. And so the fact that we could see it twice in 1 week, it's great to see. So all in all, this storm could be bringing snow to at least about 30 states from the northwest to the northeast. And notice you can see that swath of snow mainly across the northern tier of the U.S. So from places like Montana all the way through the Dakotas, even a sliver of Kansas, Missouri, into the Ohio River Valley, and eventually right on into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. That's where we'll have the majority of that snow. And then down south, again, some rain. But notice this is Thursday. This system continues to track its way to the southeast, right through the northern and central plains. And so we'll have snow falling from Bismarck down to Sioux Falls, Omaha, and temperatures. I want to point that out. They're going to be in the single digits at times, and even the teens in places a little further south like Omaha and Cedar Rapids, 15 degrees for tomorrow. Then come Thursday night, this system will be arriving in the kind of lower Great Lakes region, the Ohio River Valley. So notice the mountains of West Virginia, even into Kentucky. That's where we'll have that snow falling as well. And this is not going to be a blockbuster event. I want to point that out because all in all, we'll see totals ranging anywhere between about 1 to maybe 5 inches. Higher totals, especially higher up in the mountainous regions, but that's about it. The thing is, though, is that a lot of us will see snow. So that's kind of the takeaway, is that it's not a lot of snow, but a lot of us will see snow. So again, you can see the areas where we are most likely to see the higher totals. That's shaded in pink, so that's where we
with both on the ground, in the air. How would U.S. national security possibly be undermined if U.S. forces could no longer operate in Iraq?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So I don't want to get into hypotheticals. We know that ISIS continues to be a threat. The counter-ISIS campaign was largely successful over the last 10 years in terms of muting the threat of ISIS as it relates to Iraq and Syria, in no large part, in no small part rather, than to the professionalism of the Iraqi security forces as they have continued to increase their capability, their skills, and their effectiveness. So, credit where credit is due. That said, we continue to see ISIS as a international and a regional threat. And so we can't take our eye off the ball when it comes to ISIS. And that is the purpose of the Defeat ISIS mission, to ensure the enduring defeat of ISIS. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, again, we are in Iraq at the invitation of the government of Iraq, and we will continue to consult closely with this valued and important partner. Just leave it there. Yes, sir.
On the same topic, what's your assessment on your personnel in Iraq? Do you think that do you need to be there for a longer time because ISIS is still a threat? Or what's your assessment on your presence?
Well, look, the way that the United States conducts operations is in consultation with our allies and partners. That's exactly what we're doing in the Red Sea. And so we are there at the invitation of the government of Iraq. I mean, we've talked about this before, but for the benefit of those who have not been following this, if you go back to 2014, when ISIS was on the outskirts of Baghdad, it was the United States, working with partners in the region, to include Iraq, inviting U.S. forces to come and help to defeat and counter ISIS. And so, we will continue to consult closely with our partners in the region and continue to work together to address regional and international security threats that affect all of our security.
One question on the Iranian attacks on Erbil. What's your assessment on that attacks? Because it was almost within a few miles away from your bases in Erbil. And why you didn't use your anti-missiles system, defense system to repel some of these missiles that were attacking civilian areas?
So as I understand it, none of these strikes were targeting U.S. personnel or U.S. facilities. You've heard the Iraqi government respond. I'll refer you to that. My understanding is that these strikes were not precise, and just leave it there. And I need to get to the other side of the room.
Yeah, the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act includes a provision for equipment for Iraqi Kurdistan Peshmerga forces with air defense. Are you going to work on that?
Again, I'm not going to get ahead of pending legislation, in terms of, so I don't want to get ahead of that, other than to say, again, Iraq is a valued and important partner, and we'll continue to work closely with Iraq when it comes to security, regional security, and Iraqi needs from a defense standpoint, as we have for many years. But let me go ahead and get to the other side of the room. Yes, sir.
Griff Jenkins, pinch hitting for Jen Griffin. Two-pronged question. First, the administration redesignating the Houthis as this specially designated global terrorist list, seen as a lesser designation than the FTO. How does that impact you guys? Does it take away any tools for holding terrorists accountable? If you could speak sort of to that. And then the other question on Secretary Austin, as we are now learning more about the lack of communication he provided in his surrounding his hospitalization, is he being held to the same standard of accountability that yourself or anyone else in uniform in this building would be?
Yeah, thanks, Griff. On your first question, I'm not aware of any impact on our ability to conduct operations as necessary in terms of supporting Operation Prosperity Guardian, for example, or conducting self-defense strikes or aiming to disrupt and degrade Houthi capability. Again, what I think you're seeing here is a whole of government effort to apply the tools of national power as it relates to deterring the Houthis, and that can include a variety of means, not only military force, but also economic and diplomatic efforts. And importantly, this is not a United States alone issue. This is something we're working with the international community on. As it relates to the Secretary, look, the Secretary put a statement out taking full responsibility on the issues related to transparency and has committed to doing better. We as a department recognize that there were shortfalls, especially as it related to the notification timelines, and so we are conducting a 30-day review. In addition, the Department of Defense Inspector General is also conducting a separate and independent review. So we will obviously support those, and we will make sure that we're doing what we need to do to improve and do better next time. Thanks. Jeannie.
Thank you, General. Two questions on Russia and North Korea. Regarding the solid fuel intermediate range ballistic missile that North Korea launched last weekend, North Korea announced that it was a hypersonic missile launch. What is the U.S.'s analysis on that?
Yeah, thanks, Shani. Again, when it comes to destabilizing activity, we'll continue to call on North Korea to refrain from such activity, and we'll continue to consult closely with our allies in the region to ensure that we can maintain regional peace and security.
Foreign Minister and Russia's President Putin and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have met in Russia recently. They discussed further expanding military cooperation. How do you assess this?
Well, we've talked about this before, that clearly North Korea and Russia have a relationship. What we don't want to see is the continued proliferation of aid to Russia to be used in Ukraine. But I'll leave it at that. Let me go to the phone here. Jeff Shogel, Task and Purpose.
Thank you. You had mentioned that the latest strike in Yemen targeted Houthi assets that posed a threat to both U.S. Navy and merchant ships. And I wanted to know what data, what evidence do you have that the Houthi were targeting Navy ships? And also, does this operation, the airstrikes against Yemen, does it have a name?
Thanks, Jeff. Again, because you have merchant vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the region, as I understand it, the information that we had was that these missiles were being prepared for launch. These strikes were taken in self-defense in order to neutralize that capability, again, as part of the effort to disrupt the Houthi ability to conduct strikes. And to answer your question, I'm not aware of any official designation, i.e. named operation for these strikes. Thank you. Let me go to Nancy, and then we'll go back to the phone.
I want to start with the strike on the Houthis. To Tom's question, as I understood it, we were going to get some sort of battlefield assessment since the strikes happened on the 11th. Can you give us a sense of when we'll see that, and with what specificity you'll be able to tell us the effectiveness of those strikes? That is, could you answer Tom's question about whether it was 25% of the capability or more?
Yeah, so I appreciate the question, and what I provided is the assessment in terms of the number of strikes that we took. We assessed that we largely hit what we intended to hit and had the effect in terms of degrading those capabilities. The reason that I can't get into a percentage is because now we start to get into intelligence, and from the podium here, I would start talking about what we know and what we don't know, which can then be reverse engineered in terms of a potential adversary, or in this case, the Houthis, understanding where we may have gaps or not in our intelligence. So I'm just not going to be able to get into those numbers.
And then I reread the January 11th review that the Chief of Staff called for, and if I've read it correctly, there's nothing in there that prevents anyone involved from answering questions from the public or Congress. Is that right?
So the 30-day review is to identify, and if you just permit me here, just use the exact words, relevant facts and circumstances, and evaluate the processes and procedures through which The Deputy Secretary of Defense was notified that she should carry out the functions and duties of the Secretary of Defense. The purpose is to better understand the facts surrounding these events and to recommend appropriate processes going forward. Separate from that, there will be an independent IG review to examine the rules, processes, procedures, responsibilities, and actions related to the Secretary's hospitalization. I'm going to paraphrase here, but again, this is all out there, and assess whether the DoD's policies and procedures are sufficient to ensure a timely and appropriate notification and the effective transition of authorities. So again, all of these, as I understand it, will be comprehensive in terms of looking at the Secretary's hospitalization and the required notifications. Behind all of this, however, again, just to reiterate, at no time was there a gap in DoD command and control.
Right, but my question is, there's nothing in the memos as I read them that prevents somebody who is involved from answering questions publicly about their role in it. There's nothing that precludes that.
You know, at the risk of trying to prove a null hypothesis, I think the department personnel, of course, are going to be available to answer questions from whoever's conducting the review, whether it's the Director of Administration and Management or the DoD IG.
I guess the reason I'm asking is, as you know, we've been asking you some of the same questions over and over again since the 5th, and you've been unable to provide answers. And yet the same three people seem to be at the key of what happened: Kelly Maximum, General Park, and Secretary Hicks. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is, why can't they come to the podium and answer the questions that you haven't been able to answer, since there's nothing that in any of these investigations that prevents them from doing so?
So, you know, Nancy, what I would say is, again, we are committed to supporting these reviews. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're getting the facts, that we're doing what we need to do, improve processes going forward. In terms of Secretary Austin engaging the press, again, as we've talked about, I'm certainly aware of the interest, and we'll make sure that that request is passed along.
I appreciate that, but what about those other three who are clearly very central? They're not recovering, they're here, they're in the building. There's nothing that prevents them from answering questions.
But I think also it's important, again, to allow these reviews to run their course to ensure that we're operating from the facts and that we have a holistic picture of what exactly happened and when. Again, understanding the importance and the public interest and the congressional interest, clearly, when it comes to this topic. Let me go ahead and go back to the phone here. JJ Green, WTOP.
General, the Houthi attacks, can you say if these attacks that have been coming from locations recently have been locations that were hit in the U.S.-led coalition's strikes, or are these coming from new locations? And the second question, how does Iran's recently affirmed willingness to launch attacks directly impact the Pentagon's posture?
Yeah, thanks, JJ. On your first question, I'm not going to be able to get into the specific launch sites of Houthi missiles, other than to say, again, they do retain some capability, clearly. And again, we will continue to do what we need to do to work with partners to deter these attacks, and importantly, to safeguard vessels that are transiting the Red Sea. As for Iran's attacks, or the missile strikes that they conducted yesterday, again, you know, they put out a statement in terms of what those attacks or those missile strikes were conducted for. I'd refer you to them. The only thing I would say is, again, we've seen reports that these strikes were not precise. And of course, we in the United States continue to work closely with allies and partners in the region to prevent the conflict in Gaza from expanding into a broader regional. Houthis began their attack. If you take a step back, however, and look, the U.S. has worked very closely with partners in the region when it comes to conducting search and, when necessary, seizure for illicit arms that are transiting that region.
And does that require more U.S. forces in the region or a change of posture at all?
I'm not tracking any announcements to make right now in terms of additional U.S. forces in the region. As you've heard us say, we do maintain the ability to be flexible in terms of whether or not we need to place additional forces in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility or anywhere worldwide. Let me go to Tony.
As you said here, the Houthis do retain some capability, clearly. But prior to the strikes, did the U.S. see a widespread dispersion of Houthi forces that in hiding, given all the chatter, all the publicity of an imminent attack?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I'm just not going to talk about intelligence, about what we knew pre or pre-strike, other than, again, we maintain a significant intelligence capability, and I'll just leave it there.
Yesterday, the CENTCOM announcement saying these missiles were launched prior to strike. They were hit prior to launch. That implies that there's a really good sense of ISR over Yemen to pick up missiles on the ground being ready to launch. Is it fair to say that the U.S. at this point in the coalition have established a robust ISR capability, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance capability over Yemen, and that the posture now is preemptive of strikes versus reactive taking on an anti-ship missile?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Appreciate the question. Again, I'm just not going to be able to talk about intelligence or specific capabilities as it relates to Yemen. As always, we maintain the inherent right of self-defense, and if the Central Command commander determines that there are a threat to U.S. forces or innocent, vessels transiting the region, he has the authority to conduct dynamic strikes as necessary.
This was a dynamic strike on an imminent launch?
Yes. I mean, a dynamic strike means if you see a situation where forces are in danger or there's a threat, then you have the authorities to conduct a strike.
Drone strikes, since they were loitering over?
Yeah, so for operation security considerations, I'm just not able to go into more details in that regard. So let me go back to the phone here. Howard, Warzone.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to follow up on a few things. First of all, I wasn't sure. Did you say you're not saying how that strike, the preemptive strike, was carried out? And additionally, the Houthis have said that they're going to strike.
All right, you've been listening to Brigadier General Pat Ryder give an update on the latest on the Israel-Hamas war as well as the Ukraine-Russia war. We are going to take a quick 2-minute commercial break. My name is Austin Westfall. On the other side of the break, we're talking with our friend Alex Gorbachev. He's with the Voice of America's Russian service. We're going to break down everything that is the latest on this Russia-Ukraine conflict. That's in 2 minutes.
Be a bit milder than on Wednesday morning. Nevertheless, there will still be the threat of frozen pipes as low temperatures drop into the teens to lower 20s across much of north and central Georgia. Cover exposed pipes and allow a slow drip from exposed faucets. After a brief warm-up late in the week, more frigid air is forecast for the weekend. Here is the official forecast from your National Weather Service for the Atlanta listening area. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the lower 20s. Light northwest winds, becoming southeast after midnight. Thursday, sunny in the morning, then showers likely in the afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. South winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Thursday night, not as cool. Showers likely mainly in the evening. Near steady temperature in the upper 30s. Southwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Friday, windy. Mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Temperature falling in the lower 30s in the afternoon. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. Friday night, much colder. Clear. Lows around 16. Northwest winds around 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. And now the extended forecast. Saturday and Saturday night, clear. Highs in the lower 30s. Lows around 15. Sunday and Sunday night, mostly clear. Highs in the lower 40s. Lows in the lower 20s. Monday and Monday night, mostly cloudy. Highs in the upper 40s. Lows in the mid-30s. Tuesday and Tuesday night, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers. Highs in the lower 50s. Lows in the mid-40s. Wednesday and Wednesday night, mostly cloudy. A 50% chance of showers. Highs in the upper 50s. Lows in the lower 50s. For more detailed weather, water, and climate information, please visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta. Here is the hazardous weather outlook. This hazardous weather outlook is for portions of north and central Georgia. For this afternoon and tonight, no hazardous weather is expected at this time. And now the extended outlook for the period Thursday through Tuesday. Temperatures will moderate somewhat for Thursday and Friday, but dangerously cold conditions will return from Friday night through Sunday morning. Spotter information statement. Spotter activation will not be needed through tonight. The current time is 8:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The following reports of weather, temperature, and wind were taken at 8 p.m. Atlanta, it was partly cloudy. 32 degrees, dew point 6, relative humidity 33%. Wind north at 6 miles an hour, producing a wind chill of 26. Pressure was 30.29 inches and steady. Around Atlanta, Chamblee, it was clear, 28 degrees, wind northwest at 6 miles an hour. Marietta, it was partly cloudy, 31 degrees, wind northwest at 2 miles an hour. Mableton, it was clear, 29 degrees, wind calm. Peachtree City, it was partly cloudy, 27 degrees, wind calm. Lawrenceville, it was clear, 29 degrees, wind west at 6 miles an hour. Kennesaw, it was clear, 27 degrees, wind west at 3 miles an hour. Elsewhere around the region, Athens, it was clear, 32 degrees, wind west at 7 miles an hour. Gainesville, it was clear, 30 degrees, wind west at 12 miles an hour. Macon, it was clear, 30 degrees, wind calm. Columbus, it was partly cloudy, 33 degrees, wind calm. Birmingham, it was clear, 27 degrees, wind east at 3 miles an hour. Rome, it was clear, 27 degrees, wind southwest at 3 miles an hour. Chattanooga, it was clear, 26 degrees, wind calm. Asheville, it was clear, 27 degrees, wind northeast at 3 miles an hour. Augusta, it was partly cloudy, 29 degrees, wind calm. St. Simon's Island, it was partly cloudy, 37 degrees, wind calm. Lingering cold air will bring the threat of frozen pipes again tonight. Low temperatures early Thursday morning are expected to be a bit milder than on Wednesday morning. Nevertheless, there will still be the threat of frozen pipes as low temperatures drop into the teens to lower 20s across much of north and central Georgia. Cover exposed pipes and allow a slow drip from exposed faucets. After a brief warm-up late in the week, more frigid air is forecast for the weekend. Here is the official forecast from your National Weather Service for the Atlanta listening area. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the lower 20s. Light northwest winds, becoming southeast after midnight. Thursday, sunny in the morning, then showers likely in the afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. South winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Thursday night, not as cool. Showers likely, mainly in the evening. Near steady temperature in the upper 30s. Southwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain 70%. Friday, windy. Mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Temperature falling in the lower 30s in the afternoon. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. Friday night, much colder. Clear. Lows around 16. Northwest winds around 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. And now the extended forecast. Saturday and Saturday night, clear. Highs in the lower 30s. Lows around 15. Sunday and Sunday night, mostly clear. Highs in the lower 40s. Lows in the lower 20s. Monday and Monday night, mostly cloudy. Highs in the upper 40s. Lows in the mid-30s. Tuesday and Tuesday night, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers. Highs in the lower 50s. Lows in the mid-40s. Wednesday and Wednesday night, mostly cloudy. A 50% chance of showers. Highs in the upper 50s. Lows in the lower 50s. For more detailed weather, water, and climate information, please visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta. Here is the hazardous weather outlook. This hazardous weather outlook is for portions of north and central Georgia. For this afternoon and tonight, no hazardous weather is expected at this time. And now the extended outlook for the period Thursday through Tuesday. Temperatures will moderate.
Just this past week, and we could see more snow again by the end of the week. So 2 events in just a matter of about 5 days. Pretty exciting. In New York, about 1 to 3 inches. Again, Long Island, about 1 to 3 inches. But notice Morristown and Clinton, 3 to 5 inches possibly as we head into the weekend.
Kendall, it's wild. As you had talked about before, we celebrated a couple inches here in New York City, go to Western New York, and they're talking a couple feet. Hey, let's take it down south, though, where it's all the talk about the Arctic blast. How long is this going to impact, all the way down to the Gulf Coast and areas of North Texas like Dallas there? Beautiful kind of sunset to another cold and frigid day tomorrow. Hey, look at that. The green background showing you mild conditions back into the mid-50s. Take I-35 south, San Antonio, lower 70s. That feels great right about now, right? Sorry to say, look at Friday. All right, temperatures have just dropped about 20 degrees in all those locations. See, Dallas back in the mid-30s, San Antonio lower 50s along with Houston. So again, coastal areas that are moderated by the big body of water, the Gulf, still dropping significantly with this cold Arctic air. So it's a one-day surge. So take advantage of it. Just get outside, soak in the sunshine, get that vitamin D, and enjoy it, because you're looking at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. At least 20 degrees below average for areas like Austin, San Antonio, those spots in South Texas. So this is the culprit, right? Don't be mad at me. Look at this. This is the cold Arctic high that continues to push through. And wherever you see that purple shade is showing you, where the coldest temperatures can be and why it's getting all the way down. Yeah, Central Florida. They'll actually feel an impact from this as well, as they'll be dropping. So Panama City, they're in the mid-50s. And, Miami, you're shielded from that lower 80s. But notice how it drops. You get into Saturday, and now you're talking about daytime highs in the mid to upper 50s. I'm going to have to tell my family in Florida, because, Kendall, I know for most of us, we'd enjoy these type of temperatures this time of year.
Oh, yes.
For them, it's like they're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. We may even be on iguana watch here if these storms continue.
Iguana watch.
Yeah, if they're going to get frozen. Not at this level yet, but if this keeps coming in, we may be getting close. Hey, let's head now to Maine, because we do have some families, though, and businesses that have been dealing with the aftermath of coastal flooding from the storms over the weekend. These nonstop storms battering the region. Up next, we're actually going to be talking with a restaurant owner about her road to recovery. Reminder, you're watching Fox Weather Live.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckett.
And especially in December, I think they injured 500 people and over 100 people died and were murdered as a result of Russian attacks. So, and those attacks are especially painful over winter months because it's very cold now in Ukraine.
I wanted to ask you about that actually, and we do want to also point out that that's the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, saying that every day Russia is launching missiles at civilians, at apartment buildings, and at civilian infrastructure across Ukraine. A new UN report, meanwhile, Alex, says that intense missile and drone attacks across Ukraine in recent weeks sharply increased civilian casualties in December, with over 100 killed and nearly 500 people injured, as you were mentioning. Civilian casualties had been steadily decreasing in 2023 up until that point. Do you know why Russia increased their attacks in the winter months?
NATO was projecting that Russia will increase its attack in winter months because that's when civilians are especially vulnerable to its attacks because it's cold, negative temperatures, and they're targeting infrastructure like power plants. And when they're hitting power plants, that means that people have no heat, people have no electricity, people have no hot water. And in case of Ukraine, they have centralized centralized water pipes. And once you hit it, it's frozen, and it will not take days or weeks to repair. You have to wait till spring until you will be able to repair those pipes, for example. And same with all infrastructure, it's very difficult to repair. It will take years and years. Another reason why he is targeting Ukrainian civilians right now, I think because he wants people to pressure Zelensky, to pressure Ukrainian government so they would accept Putin terms, because we saw that he is trying, what he was saying recently, that he is trying to freeze the conflict, that Ukraine was rejecting his ideas of peaceful negotiations. He was saying it a lot in the last few days. So I think he wants Ukrainian people to feel more exhausted, more vulnerable, and more desperate. And as a result, he wants them to put some pressure on Ukrainian government. But I don't think it's gonna happen because Ukrainian people, they showed a lot of resilience in the first day of the invasion, and he wasn't able to achieve his goals. Since he wasn't able to undermine the resilience in first few days of full-scale invasion, I don't think he will be able to achieve his goals right now.
I thought this was interesting. Russia will open election polling stations in the U.S. for Russian citizens voting overseas this March. Is this a surprising move by the Kremlin, given how low diplomatic relations are right now?
It's hard to say because I'm not precisely sure what they are doing, because recently they were telling that they are not going to open poll stations in so-called unfriendly countries, and unfriendly countries, they're Western democratic countries. But I think it will be, I think why they initially said that, because they were afraid that Russian diaspora, they will vote predominantly against Putin. But also it will look so bad, it will be such a bad publicity if even in the United States people wouldn't be able to vote. So they decided to open, just few polling stations in America, in three major cities, although previously we saw that there were polling stations in other cities as well. So they decided to do that. I don't know, maybe they did some analytics and they think that anti-Putin voters will not show up to these polling stations. So I think in next few weeks we will see a little bit more regarding their strategy about overseas voting. But important thing I want to point out that it's more difficult for them to rig the election overseas than to do it in Russia.
I should point out, I believe there are 3 locations where they will allow these polling locations to be. I think they're New York, Washington, D.C., and Houston. Last question before we go, Alex. Given that we're talking about this election coming up in Russia, who is Putin facing off against, and are these actually serious candidates?
That was kind of fun, but they also have different vehicles than the average person. But the roads are pretty much impassable unless you really have the right equipment, and that's why if you live up here, you have snow tires.
Well, look, if I could teleport, Lauren, I'd be asking to sleep over for the game this week when KC plays the Bills. Definitely, I would be there. The snowfall rate that we just had come in was 3 inches of snow in 34 minutes. That's at the official reporting station, Buffalo Airport. That puts a snowfall rate of almost 5 inches per hour. So it really is crazy. Are there any challenges? Is there anything that Buffalo can't handle when you get these big lake effect bands coming day after day?
Well, this year they seem to have a plan. They have big skip loaders and big plows at the airport. The airport's usually on top of it. Last year was an unusual situation. It seemed like they didn't have a plan, but they've certainly changed their game for this year. I give them credit, letting people know to stay inside, get food, get everything. But Buffalo does handle things a lot differently. We're used to these high winds. The biggest problem we have is where do you put the snow? But we are good at that, and the kids love being home because I remember when I was in school here, we never got a snow day, and now these kids have snow day after snow day, so they're pretty happy.
I think I see you here in this footage. This is inside the Buffalo Bills Stadium where it was thigh-high snow. The true fans, the mafia, removing it. Pretty cool. We call you the car coach most of the year, but you might be the snowmobile coach now as we go into this part of the season. Last question before we leave you. Do you actually use snowmobile to get around, somebody to make a grocery run or something?
Well, I actually own snowmobiles, so we've been doing this since, since the 80s. So we love when they lock everything down and see we need help from people. So the Erie County Sheriff sometimes will ask for snowmobile helpers, and there's a snowmobile club here in the Western New York area, and we'll go out and help people that need help, that need to get to a hospital, that need medication. People that are in trouble, we'll go and help them. So Buffalo is the city of good neighbors, and we continue to prove that. You'll see that people will help anybody. We don't care. We're here to help you. Buffalo is a wonderful city. It's a secret. We don't tell anybody. It's a great town.
All right, the car coach, Lauren Fix. We'll see who has the thicker blood come this weekend between Buffalo and KC. Have a great week. Stay safe out there in the snow.
And staying on the East Coast, let's head to Maine, where families and businesses are recovering from coastal flooding over the past weekend. And one business that was impacted by the flooding was Helen's Restaurant in Machias.
So joining us now is actually the owner of the restaurant, Julie Baker. Julie, thank you for being with us. And can you walk us through the day of the flooding? And were you anticipating the flooding to be this intense and extreme?
Wednesday storm was, high tide was around 30. We typically open at 11. So we were delaying opening until we knew what was